Aita for ruining my brother and his wife's pregnancy news with the news of my recent diagnosis. Bit of backstory, my brother and I are very close, his wife and I not so much, we've had our fair share of tension. Anyway, I fell sick in the middle of May, but held off getting checked out because of COVID and safety reasons. Eventually when June started I decided to go check it out, turns out it was stage 2 breast cancer. I decided to tell my family 2 days ago since lockdown laws have been lifted, so I invited everyone over and when I told my brother and his wife he said okay that's fine because he has news to share too. So our family gathered and my brother decided to go first. He did ask me and he announced that his wife is 4 months pregnant. Of course everyone was overjoyed. After about an hour they asked about my news, and I knew this was probably the last time in a long while before I had everyone here in person, so I told them. And of course the initial joyous atmosphere was gone. The rest of the evening was a lot of support from me and not a lot of attention on my brother and his wife. My brother didn't seem to mind this, as he was quite distraught with my news, but I saw his wife pretty upset and cornered off. So I decided to approach her, and I apologized for the timing of it all. She told me I could have waited a bit and Skyped everyone with the news, as it's just stage 2, and let my brother and her have this moment with their family. I told her I initially called this meeting for this exact reason and she said she knows, but I knew my news would damper everyone's mood. So I told her she's being ridiculous and I wanted to tell my family in person, since they are my family after all. And she burst in tears and demanded to go home, which my brother obliged to even though he was confused. He promised he would come see me soon since he stays close by to me. Later that evening I get a message from him asking if I told his wife that she isn't part of the family and that I deliberately wanted the attention on me, because that's what she's upset about. Also the next day my parents called me to check up on me and my mom mentioned that my brother's wife called yesterday evening really upset telling them what I said and claiming I'm jealous because she's pregnant and I'm trying to ruin her life. I told my parents what actually happened and what I really said and it's caused not only tension between his wife and me, but my parents and her too, and now she's also blaming me for my parents not being her biggest fans. My brother is torn but has been trying to talk to her, which results in more tears and a strain in their marriage. All this drama is making me think that I should have just called up everyone rather, or just told my brother that his news had to wait, even though that would have been selfish of me. I really wanted my family's support that day, but I'm starting to rethink whether it was worth all this drama and potentially causing further problems. So Reddit, Aita. Top comments. Commenter 1. NTA, you called the meeting for your news. Also, if sharing it in person was unimportant then why couldn't your SIL share the pregnancy news over Skype? Her own reasoning should have been good enough for her. And good luck with your treatment. Commenter 2, NTA. I was so ready to call you YTA from the title alone. But you arranged this meeting to break the news of something very serious, and your brother decided that it was time to break news as well. Could you have handled this better? Well, yes, you could have asked him privately what his news was when he said he had something to announce so that it didn't get awkward like this, but regardless, the blame does not fall on you at all. But the fact is that cancer is a bit more of an important thing to announce than a pregnancy, and the SIL made a huge misstep getting jealous and saying what she did Skype. Really? She's definitely the asshole here. There are things more important than a pregnancy, especially because a pregnancy has a lot more of a time frame to announce than a disease you're going to need to get some pretty obvious treatment for. Also I wish you a good recovery. Edit. Wow, I didn't expect this to get so much lovely feedback, and to think I was slightly scared to post this. Thank you all for the unnerving support, love and huggies. I read and still reading every single comment made and I really appreciate it. I will most definitely fight through. Thank you all so much. Just wanted to add a few points. When brother told me he had news too he was really super excited and added it as a just by the way I'll announce mine too. He did apologize and admit afterwards if he had known what my news was he would have held off his, because right now what's important is my recovery. He also admitted he wrongfully assumed that my news would automatically be good. I'm usually always the happy chirpy one. His wife wasn't too fond of this either. Brother's wife also had a miscarriage beginning of the year, which is why this pregnancy I suppose was extra special. I'm truly happy for them, I just wish she could understand like one user pointed out that this isn't a competition. I don't know why I couldn't tell him over the phone, we are really close and I knew it would have crushed him. I couldn't steal him away at the gathering either because he was the last to arrive, and when he did he just quickly mentioned hey OP mind if I go first and I was frozen on the spot so I said sure. Also pretty silly on my part. It's hard to explain that feeling where you absolutely frozen and there's a big lump in your throat that prevents you from speaking, but saying the news in the first place was really difficult to begin with. Edit, just another point to clarify, I'm not a saint, but my brother does mean a heck of a lot to me. It's exactly why his wife and I cleared the air between us before, because I wouldn't deliberately make his life hell by pissing her off. Hence why when I saw she was upset I approached her. And when she told me I could have Skyped I responded with I wanted to tell them in person since they're my family and they would probably want to be there with me when I broke the news. I never once implied she wasn't a part of it. My brother and parents know this. Update. Sorry this is so late, a lot has been happening the past month since the news came out, and since I've received a tremendous amount of love from Reddit I thought it would be only fair to let you all know what happened. First and foremost, I've started treatment, also one of the reasons I couldn't update sooner. Thank you all for your well wishes, I plan on bouncing back as soon as I can. Anyway, I could see that my brother was under a lot of stress, and I finally sat him down to talk about it properly. He showed me a bunch of texts that his wife sent him telling him he is a shitty father for choosing me over his family. She said I was seeking attention and nobody cares about her. And one thing that really got to me was that she told him to choose once and for all, and if he picks me he loses her and his child and if he picks her she doesn't want me in their lives at all. I felt terrible, not only for him, but knowing that I could have prevented all this. I took the time to apologize for putting him in this position, and if I had just pulled him aside soon enough and given him a heads up, he would have truly understood. Brother tells me I shouldn't apologize, because he should have been more considerate. He also mentioned that his wife would have probably still gotten mad at him whether they did or didn't give the news on that day. So I decided I should invite her over for coffee, to sort out everything. I spoke to her alone, I asked her about everything, she was very cold and didn't really answer, so I started talking first by apologizing if I made her feel excluded from the family or that her pregnancy was of any less importance. I explained that I should have given them a heads up so we could have avoided what had happened altogether and that was my fault, and that I was very sorry but I also mentioned that the way she reacted and went to the extent of lying wasn't okay. She then started crying and vented out about how angry she's been, and that my brother always put me first and recently they've been going through a rough patch and when he sided with me it made her even more upset and feel even more lonely. She admitted she lied to my parents and my brother, saying that she was hoping they would show her more sympathy and when they were cold to her she got even more upset. After hours of talking she apologized for how she acted and has been acting. And she would like if we moved on from this. My brother came later and they both went home. He texted me saying they both spoke for hours and agreed to couples therapy. My parents are currently living with me and helping me out tremendously, but they're not quite happy with my sister-in-law yet, although they promised to try to work things out. Things finally seem to calm down, and let's hope it stays that way. None of this would have been possible without the feedback you all gave me, and I'm indebted to that, so thank you. ETA, all of you are so kind, honestly, but I wanted to clarify that I'm no saint nor am I selfless. I know what happened wasn't entirely on me, however, in order to focus solely on my recovery I can't be stressed out about this whole situation and have all this tension around, seeing my brother being put in that position and my SIL, as hurtful as she was. Being upset and holding hatred can affect herself and the baby. I did what I could to fix things so that everyone can focus on being healthy. And being positive without holding any grudges, I know I sure will. I know my SIL, she can be very stubborn and unreasonable, and if I left things in her hands I'm 99% sure it would have resulted in much worse circumstances than me putting the first hand forward. At least now I can focus on my recovery without any distress or toxicity. I'm human, I felt angry, I felt upset, yeah I wanted to give her a piece of my mind. But in doing so isn't helping myself, her, my brother, or my family, only damaging things further. This realization is what prompted me to let it all go and focus on positivity and my mental and physical health. Last edit. I spent all day on Reddit reading every little or big comment made, and honestly I didn't know you could feel so much support from people you never met. You are all the amazing humans. Thank you all for the upvotes, comments and awards, and I'll still read every single comment, but this will be my final edit. And for the people who asked, I'm 24. Stories number 2. Family left me 18M when they thought I wasn't my dad's son but now they want to get back in touch. I don't think the technical details will matter a lot, so I'll get right down to business. 4 years ago, Dad found out my mom had a lifelong affair, more than one, but that's another story. He knew about a couple of affairs she had in the past and forgave her, hanging in there for the kids, moving on, yada yada. But that time 4 years ago, he found out me and my 2 siblings might not be his kids, considering time of affair. This was the first time we all heard of moms, well, everything really. There was a whole DNA thing and it turned out my siblings were my dad's, and I was not. Cool, right? So Dad leaves Mom, divorces her, moves out, takes both my siblings with him. Not me though. I stay behind with mom, who hits a new low finding herself alone, and we both become pretty much outcasts as far as most of the family is concerned. My older brother was particularly mean to me. We were really tight before, and the shit he did to me, I swear, had I been bigger at the time, I would have punched him hard, more than once. I don't want to get into details because I can't since I could be recognized, but stuff happened and I got DNA again, and as it turns the fuck out, DNA number 1 was messed up and I am my dad's kid. Now, I don't need legal advice on this. Grandpa is the man, always had my back, we got a lawyer and are looking to settle. But dad wants back in my life. Brother is calling and wanting to meet up and talk shit. I don't fucking want to. I want these people out of my life. Mom already forgave everyone, she is going on a date with my dad and I feel sick, but not my business, right? I wish them both good fucking luck, but I want none of it. Only nobody leaves me be. I keep hearing that they're family, and I ought to hear them out and give them a chance or I'll regret it later, and that the only reason I won't talk to them is cause I'm a teen and stupid or some other shitty explanation. So, give me some perspective here, please. Do I sound unreasonable when I say, thanks, but fuck no, thanks? TLDR, dad thought I wasn't his kid, left, turns out I am his kid, so he wants to be pals again, and I want him gone. Relevant comments. Commenter 1. I don't fucking want to, so don't. You are under no obligation to anyone. If you want to be no part or a distant part of their lives, that's your choice. Commenter 2. Yep. OP's father is his father, but he already made it clear he has no desire to be a dad. Commenter 3. I keep hearing that they're family, and I ought to hear them out and give them a chance or I'll regret it later. Too bad they didn't give you the same consideration when they kicked you to the curb. Commenter 4. Yeah, he got punished for his mother's actions and even what little they accused him of didn't hold up. Worse, both his parents are having a go at each other, again. OP should lost more of his family. His father is terrible, his mother is and his siblings apparently too. His grandfather seems cool though. Commenter 5. Put them on blast. They abandoned you. Your brother doesn't get a second chance because he only saw you as a brother if blood was involved. Fucking bullshit. Your dad is even worse and extremely childish. Privatize social media, stay strong and focus on the people that are important to you. Grandpa, friends etc. Edit. For OP, I want to clarify, put the rest of your family on blast if anyone is upset you're not in contact. Tell people your story, they won't be so eager to get you guys to talk if they know what really happened, since it's likely your dad/brother only told their side. Commenter 6. Yeah, I don't really understand. If they literally grew up together, they are brothers. Why would you act rudely and hateful towards someone that has no control over something? Maybe the father had something to do with it. Reply. After 4 years, my best guess is that he blames me for breaking up our family. Dad had no problem with mom cheating, he said it himself, he forgave her a bunch of times. The bastard kid though he couldn't forgive. So it was my fault and my brother fucking hated me for it. And now I hate him right back. So. Commenter 7. You're 18, if your mom is pushing this shit too, start saving up. Get your own place. No one needs to know the address. A new phone number is pretty easy to get too. Reply. I don't live with her anymore. Been at my grandfather's for a little while now, so living arrangements are cool, but the phone thing is a good idea. Thanks. Update. Family left me 18M when they thought I wasn't my dad's son, but now they want to get back in touch. TLDR. Dad thought I wasn't his kid and left me. Now, it turns out I am his kid and he wants to be in my life again. But it's been 4 years and he was really shitty to me all this time, so I don't really want to be his pal. Family says I'll regret not giving him a chance, and I came to the internet for perspective. Thank you all for the advice, but I decided to go with my grandpa's, which was kind of the same most of you gave me, and I'll be standing my ground. I've been really annoyed lately cause a lot of people around me keep saying I'm a crazy teen and I'll regret it. But Grandpa made a point that I need to stop trying to decide how I'll feel in the future. Cause truth is you can never know. You have to make decisions now, based on feelings and info you have now. Not based on feelings and info you might have later. Right now, I am disgusted by dad and brother. I want nothing to do with them. I don't trust them. And I even think there is a chance they might be doing this, reaching out just for optics and money. If my feelings change, I will deal with that when they do. Cross the bridge when I get to it and all. I wasn't really gonna post an update on this, cause I don't see the point. My story is kinda over. But something happened yesterday and I wanted to share. So I decided to stand by my fuck no, I don't want to talk to them. I'll be moving to another city soon and decided to change my number. Grandpa is the only one who will be having the new one. I asked him not to share and I know he won't. He is a retired cop, so he's really badass and has zero patience for bullshit. My new number is safe. He called my mom and told her that, from now on, if anyone wanted to reach me, they'd have to go through him. So mom showed up at his place. I've been living with him for a while and tries to talk to me, but grandpa says she has to talk to him first, so he can decide whether she is allowed to talk to me or not. Lol. So mom goes insane, and starts telling him that it's none of his business and that this is between me and my dad, so grandpa goes something like, if anybody shows up at my lawn to disturb the boy, I'll get the cops, a restraining order and a shotgun. It goes on for a while until mom says I'm not the only family grandpa has, and that by doing this, grandpa is pushing everyone away and splitting the family. He has other grandchildren, why is he picking just the one, and so on. So grandpa fucking laughs and tell her that through no fault of his, this family blew up long ago, and everyone just grabbed a piece of what was left and ran for it. He looks at me and says I'm his piece, so he's not letting go and fuck it. I was feeling like laughing up to this point cause mom was going crazy and all, but when he fucking said that, I broke. Mom left after a while and I just hugged my old man like life depended on it, and he just said something like, enough now, no need for that, I'm your family, family doesn't leave. You remember that when you have one of your own, and I fucking will. TLDR, won't be pals with dad and brother. I'm good. Grandpa is the shit. Edit. Oh, before I forget. Some people were asking about what my siblings were like. Well, my older brother stole/took shit that were mine or supposed to be mine. He lied to me and about me, and not the innocent kid lie, but fucked up shit that ruined relationships I had with friends, family, even a girlfriend I cared about. He was a huge bully for years, even hit me once. Mom said he's going through a lot too and dad couldn't care less and just protected him. Grandpa told him if he ever hit me again, he would break brother's teeth in. I guess he believed him, cause he never touched me after the one time. Younger brother is cool, I'd rather not talk about him here. Another edit. I read the comment section to grandpa, I had to explain what OG is and he now wants to watch Breaking Bad and Better Call Saul LOL, but we thank you for all the love. Reading the replies on my first post, he just said the internet is very smart. Reading the replies on this update, he got a little emotional and left saying he had stuff to do. But he got a beer, came back and asked if there were more people saying stuff. The comment comparing him to Clint Eastwood made his day. Thanks for the love guys. Relevant comments. Commenter 1. Your grandpa is OG. Spend every second you can with that man. And, even with everything that's happened, you should feel so happy and proud that you have him. Good luck dude. Commenter 2. Your grandpa is not only a badass, he is incredibly wise. You are lucky to be his piece. Commenter 3. Beautiful update. Someone was cutting onions when I read it. One slightly morbid thing, make sure your grandpa has an ironclad will, power of attorney and whatever you need to make health and well-being decisions when that time comes. People like the family you've spoken about harbor resentment and it festers. It often comes out when someone is too ill or old to defend themselves. When the time comes you want to have everything in order and the power to protect your grandpa just like he's protected you. Reply, hey thanks. Yeah, I suck at storytelling so plenty of details were left out, but as I said most of the family pushed us away a few years back, but not all family. I got an uncle who is a stand-up dude, grandpa's oldest, he is in charge in case anything goes wrong. I'm actually moving to the city he lives in, he got me a solid job working with him for a while. But anybody wanted to keep me from seeing the old man, I'd burn down a hospital I swear to God. Final update. Family left me 18M when they thought I wasn't my dad's son but now they want to get back in touch. TLDR, dad thought I wasn't his kid and left me. Now, it turns out I am his kid and he wants to be in my life again. But it's been 4 years and he was really shitty to me all this time, so I don't really want to be his pal. Family says I'll regret not giving him a chance, and I came to the internet for perspective. Grandpa is awesome. Older brother is a mean piece of shit. It is an act of God that I still remember the password to this throwaway, but fuck guys. People, you are not gonna fucking believe this. I don't fucking believe this. The lab didn't make a mistake on my results, what they did is they mixed the results of all children. I am my dad's bio son, but my older brother is not. Which is fucking weird cause he looks like dad, maybe mom has a type. Turns out it was his lab results stuff whatever with my name on it. He will be triple checking it now with another lab, but I mean FUCK. The settlement has a confidential disclosure clause something on details, so I will not be speaking about this ever in all ever again cause it's damn good money, so shush. But I had to share this because fucking lol. If anybody is keeping score, I now believe in karma. Relevant comments. Commenter 1. Keep the settlement, bail on shit family. You're an adult, best perk of adulating is crafting your own family. Commenter 2. Oof, that's karma alright. Out of curiosity, is your dad going to cut your brother out now that he knows that he's not his? Also, is your brother having a meltdown at knowing the truth? Reply, oh I wish I knew. I moved away and I don't talk to them anymore. Just found out through grandpa. I am however overcome with joy. Commenter 3. I'm glad you got a settlement. Treating you like shit from 14 to 18 because he was told you were not biologically his son is a horrible thing to do to you. You were just a teen and you had no choice in the circumstances in which you were conceived. The 14 years leading up to that had to count for something in his heart, but he chose to ignore it. I don't think I could forgive him for that. My grandfather walked out on my father's family when my father was 13. My father never forgave him, although he eventually came to terms with it. They never attempted to talk to each other. Commenter 4. You probably could get more money from writing a sensationalized book about this situation. Who knows, maybe a studio would pick it up and make a movie. Reply, LOL if I could write yeah. Commenter 5. LOL what the actual fuck hahaha. They both must feel really stupid now, probably cause they are. Anyway, I have a question. Is this super cool grandpa your mother's father or your father's father? Reply, mother's father. Not close to father's family anymore. Commenter 6. It's damn good money. I hope the settlement is really damn good, because the results will affect you and your family for life. I am a little puzzled by the timeline, as most legal processes take a lot longer than a month to be resolved. Reply, the results will affect you and your family for life. Yeah, already have. I suck at explaining stuff, but my first post wasn't when I found out, it was just me looking for perspective cause the whole family was like talk to your dad, stupid when I was about to move away and didn't want to talk to him. Stuff's been going on for longer. Stories number 3. Aita for kicking out my friend's neurodivergent friend, for what I felt was ignoring boundaries and touching my most personal stuff. I'm just super annoyed that I'm made to be the bad guy, but in case I'm missing something, here it is. My friends have a buddy uses pronouns they/them, they bring along who is on the spectrum and high functioning. They can drive, live independently, clearly make friends, and hold down a job, so personally, I think they can understand and respect boundaries. They have this annoying and disgusting habit of burping really hard, effortfully, so it is loud. And I have a sensitive nose and it smells. I don't care they do that, but when it's in my literal personal space, less than 3 feet, that's an issue. I told them several times not to do that when they are literally facing me and talking to me, facing me, or eating right next to me, with an entire plate of food being passed around. The end of my patience was then met when I had a gathering and they invited them. They, their friend, came in and I was warm to them, then when I go to the bathroom, I come back looking for them to tell them we are eating dinner. Lo and behold, they are playing with my hearing aids. I put in a device to dry them out since it was raining. My friends just speak louder around me when they are off. I literally need those for work and my safety, and other people playing with, let alone wearing them, is unsanitary. I flipped out and told them to put those down and he burped in my face, laughing, saying they was sorry and tried to hug me. They drop one of my hearing aids on the floor and almost spill their drink on it, the puddle barely touching it as I grabbed it. These are $3,000 each. I told them to let go and my friends were trying to get me to understand that they has trouble with these social cues. My response was, I'm allowed to decide what I put up with in my personal space and who handles my medical debts. Anybody who can hold down a job, make friends, and live alone should be able to respect boundaries. I don't care if they're on the spectrum, that doesn't mean anything on this. My friends left with them and I've been back and forth with one of them about it. Commenter 1. I flipped out and told them to put those down and he burped in my face, laughing, saying they was sorry and tried to hug me. They drop one of my hearing aids on the floor and almost spill their drink on it, the puddle barely touching it as I grabbed it. I would have kicked everyone out and not speak to any of them again. NTA. Commenter 2. Honestly, that would have been my breaking point too. Touching medical stuff isn't a quirky mistake, it's straight up disrespect. The burp in your face on top of that just sealed it. Your reaction was way more restrained than most people would have managed. Commenter 3. Coming from a high-functioning autistic, even if they cannot pick up social cues, you have told them several times your boundaries, yet they still continue to burp in your face. I personally do not understand what thought process they would have to pick up medical devices, never mind they have been in your ears. I wouldn't even touch a person's crutches, let alone something so small, sensitive, and expensive. They are the unholy. They shouldn't be using their diagnosis as an excuse or shield. If it happens once and you express your dislike and boundaries, it should not happen again. Period. Commenter 4, 100% NTA. I have an autistic son. I am his legal guardian and he is unable to live alone. He would never act this way. This is not the behavior of a person on the spectrum. This isn't a disability. This is a complete ass who uses his disability to harass the people around him, and you absolutely do not have to tolerate it. If he burps, tell him he is disgusting and walk away. If he touches your stuff, scream at him to drop it. If he wants to act like an animal, treat him like one. Disabled people can also be assholes just because they are assholes, they have no excuse and people tend to allow them to get away with it. Don't be one of them. Stories number 4. Aita for postponing our wedding because my fiancé wants her ex's ashes involved in the ceremony. My fiancé and I have been together almost 4 years. We got engaged this past spring and started wedding planning a couple months ago. During one of our talks she casually asked, where should we put his urn? I was confused, so I asked her what she meant. She explained that she wants her ex-boyfriend's ashes to be included in the ceremony. Not just tucked away somewhere discreet either. She wants his urn displayed near the altar, she wants to take pictures holding it along with the bouquet, and she even floated the idea of setting a chair for him in the front row so he can still be part of the day. She even told me that she had bought this to put in his area, like a symbol. I told her flat out I wasn't okay with that. I said I understand grief is complicated and I'll never ask her to forget someone she loved, but I don't want our wedding to feel like a shrine to her ex. It's supposed to be about us. She got furious and shouted at me, you're just jealous of a pile of ashes. He's not here anymore, what the hell do you think is going to happen? I'll run off with him. That really stung. I told her I needed time to think and that we should postpone the wedding until we're on the same page. Now I'm honestly questioning if this marriage is even a good idea. Aita for not wanting someone else's ashes to have a reserved spot at my wedding. Commenter 1. She needs some serious counseling. Honestly, I'd cancel the whole wedding. She's acting like this for a boyfriend, not even husband or fiancé. You know she'll want to name the kids after him. Commenter 2, NTA. I'm with a widower. I fully respect the love he had for his late wife and his grief at her passing. This is an absolutely insane request. She's not ready to move on. Commenter 3, NTA. Your fiancé needs to get some mental health counseling. I can only imagine how everyone at the wedding would react to seeing the urn with a dead BF's ashes. They will assume your fiancé has lost her mind. Commenter 4, NTA. Grandmama advice here. I'm going to proceed as if this is real, but I hope it's not. Don't postpone. Cancel. Get as much of your deposits back as possible. This girl is not at all ready to get married. If you feel strongly that you don't want to break up, tell her that her getting grief counseling and then couples counseling when she's ready is a requirement, not to end things completely. What really strikes me is how mean she was to you about it. She lacks judgment, perspective and empathy, at best. Stories number 5. Aita for cutting my stepmother out of my life. And possibly causing my dad to leave her. My stepmother is trying to sabotage my engagement to make her son happy. Hi, I'm 24 years old male, my girlfriend is 25 female, let's call her Kara, my dad is 52-year male Toby, my stepmother is Karen 51-year female, and my stepbrother Tom 36-year male. Fake names, but I'm going to try and keep it simple. My mother passed away so she isn't in the story. So I met my girlfriend 7 years ago at an anime convention in New York City. I remember we used to work together for an ambulance company. She didn't remember me, but I remember her. She was meeting up with someone else but he never showed up. We clicked and have been good friends since. Then during the pandemic I asked her out to date, and we have been together since. Clara is amazing. She loves anime, fantasy novels, science fiction, TV shows and novel, and My Little Pony friendship is magic. She also loves true crime podcasts, not my thing, but it makes her happy. Clara has never met my family when we were together as friends, but once we started dating I decided it was time to introduce her to my dad, stepmom, and stepbrother. Everything was so cool. Clara was a hit amongst my family. My stepbrother wouldn't leave her alone, but I thought it was him just getting to know her. My dad and stepmom loved her too. My stepbrother Tom during this time was becoming a little annoying, coming over my apartment more frequently, and texting Kara a lot she told me, but we felt it wasn't anything to be concerned about. Tom visit became more and more frequent when Kara and I moved in together. A year after moving in, my stepmother asked if Tom could move in with us, because he is moving out of my dad's house and this will be the first time he will be living alone, and being with family would help. We have an extra bedroom in the house we are renting. It was a guest bedroom. Kara and myself agreed so long as it was only for a year at the most. Tom moves in and becomes extremely clingy. He wants to hang out with us every day. Kara and myself, when we get home, like to unwind by playing video games, reading books together, watching movies in bed, or going over to a friend's house and playing DD. Since Tom he has been involved in everything except when we read together. We read different books on the patio. We just enjoy each other company. Tom will come outside and start talking to yous about whatever, or sit on the couch when we are playing video games together and ask to have a turn. Kara likes to have her alone time to just veg out and listen to music or a podcast and cook. Tom will be in the kitchen and stokes up a conversation, so she isn't able to listen to music or her true crime podcasts. She wasn't complaining about it though, because she does not like confrontations. Tom also would ask to go grocery shopping with Kara. He also would invite himself out with us on our date night. We tried at first to not tell him we were going out. He would cry to his mom and she would say we are not being nice to Tom. This is the first time on his own and he is lonely. Tom crossed the line when Kara and myself booked a vacation and he just so happened to book the same cruise as us. That was a huge red flag because it wasn't random. We booked a cruise that was hosting a true crime convention cruise. Tom is not interested in true crime. I am not interested in true crime like Kara, but this was my treat for her. After the events of that cruise, and there was a lot of drama on it, I told Tom and my dad that we need our space and Tom needs to move out. My stepmother did not take this well. Luckily my dad put his foot down and told Karen it's been 14 months and he needs to find his own place. Tom moved back home with my dad and Karen. We had our peace for a while. Tom was still coming over a lot, but we were avoiding him as much as possible. And we had our own space again. Now for what is happening now. I asked my dad for my mom's wedding ring to propose to Kara. My dad happily gave me the ring, no questions asked, and his wedding ring too for myself. Karen found out and she had been unpleasant since. She makes comments about Kara being older than myself and she will not have as much time to have children. She said to me that Kara is an older woman and that is proper. I told Karen I don't care and she isn't going to get married to Kara. I am. Tom found out about the engagement and also has been telling me that Kara isn't right for me. He said I don't understand Kara like he does. He also said we will be divorced in a year of marriage. Well, I planned an engagement party for Kara to purpose and everything was perfect. I planned a pool party in our backyard with both our friends and family. 2 hours before the party my dad calls and said that Karen accidentally ate shrimp and had to go to the hospital and he couldn't come. So I decided to have the party and not pop the question. I wanted my dad with me. The party was fun. I decided to plan a nice dinner for Kara family and mine to celebrate and pop the question. And unfortunately Karen gets a flat tire upstate and needed my dad to drive upstate to help her 3 hours before the dinner. So I decided to wait. I tried again and this time I was going to ask Kara at my dad's barbecue party he was hosting. Unfortunately the night before my dad's grill was broken and he had to cancel. So I decided, since we have had a lot of bad luck, to ask Kara on a vacation to Japan. I didn't tell anyone. I had it all planned out and booked a spa day in Japan and asked her. She said yes and we posted our good news. My dad was so happy. Karen was not. She blew up my phone saying how could I do this to Tom. She told me Tom is in love with Kara and she is his one and only. We are not a good match. Kara is older and much better fit for Tom. I knew Tom had a crush on Kara but she doesn't like him like that. Karen was calling, texting non-stop now saying can I just let Tom have Kara. I called her crazy ass and told her Kara is a human and she isn't something to be given away, and she doesn't belong to anybody. I called my dad and showed him the voicemail and text messages. My dad wasn't shocked, but he is staying at my house because he doesn't know what to do, and he doesn't want to talk about why he left. But Tom and Karen keep driving by the house, and trying to call my dad. We blocked both of them. But I may get a restraining order, because this is making Kara really uncomfortable. Commenter 1. NTA. You are not responsible for the actions of a man-child and his batshit crazy mother. They did it to themselves. Reply. Yeah, I'm just trying to keep Kara safe from this. Commenter 2. You're going to have to tell her. She's going to hear about it from someone else if you don't. Reply. She knows. She very uncomfortable with what's going on. She told me she likes true crime podcasts but she does not want to be in a true crime podcast. Commenter 3. I had to check your ages. The way your stepmom was going on about her being older, I'm thinking Kara is 40 or something. She's one freaking year older than you. What the hell? Your stepmom is batshit crazy, and her son isn't that far behind her either. Reply. I think her comments on Kara age was an attempt to break us up, like she thinks I would be that vain. My last girlfriend was 5 years older than me, I don't care. Kara could be 40 and I would have fallen in love with her. Commenter 4. NTA his mom is part of the problem. Poor dad and Kara. You might need to call the police before they try to report your dad missing or anything else escalates. Stories number 6. Wibta if I stop all of the favors I've been doing for my ex since he has refused the one favor I asked. This is kind of sweaty, but my 30F ex-husband Greg 38M and I have 2 kids, Louisa 9 and Ted 7. We divorced over 5 years ago and cope rent very well. The divorce was because I was happy with our 2 children but he wanted more, and even therapy didn't help. We have had basically no issues, there's no child support, we're 50-50ths, have never had issues having the kids if the other parent has something come up, and understand that it's just about making sure their lives aren't too disrupted. Greg remarried Tessie 38F 4 years ago and they have another child, a boy, and another about to make their appearance in this world in a few weeks. I am marrying my fiancé Luke 36M in February, we've been together for about 3 years and he's known my kids for 2, we moved in together last year. We have a group chat, but aren't overly friendly or anything, we only talk about the kids and keep it pretty lighthearted. Our only rules with the other datings is that we would introduce our partners to the other before they met the kids, which went great with both of them. When Tessie and Greg married, I obviously kept the kids an extra week for their honeymoon, and again for my actual week so they could settle and they didn't live together before they got married. When they had their first baby, I kept our kiddos for about a month but brought them over a few times to see their new brother obviously so they could settle in since it was Tessie's first baby. A few weeks ago at one of Lacey's games, Tessie told me the date her C-section was scheduled for, which is in the middle of their custody week. I told her we were excited for them and of course I could keep them that week and my following week, and we could go back to normal their next custody period. She kind of hemmed and hawed and asked if we could keep them for another custody week to give them a month again to get used to things. I said that was fine, I didn't expect them to need that much time for their second baby, but I C-sections are major surgeries and I said I'd be happy to keep the kid, they don't live far from us so bringing them over to hang out won't be too out of my way and of course I love having my kids with me. Anyhow, we've finalized our plan for our honeymoon, which is 3 weeks. I know it seems excessive but it's something on both of our bucket lists, but not something the kids would be too interested in, and the honeymoon seems like the best opportunity to do it. Basically what would happen would be that we'd get married on Saturday my week, the kids would stay with Greg that night and stay for his week, then they would keep them for our week and their next week. So they'd have them for one of my custody weeks plus 1 extra evening. I don't have family around, my parents died young, grandparents before them, and the aunt and uncle who helped raise me retired to New Mexico 3-hour plane ride 2-hour drive at Min. I have friends who have watched the kids before, but I didn't see a single issue with asking Greg to keep them for a week since it seems like there's a bit of precedent. I texted him the general plan and emailed him a more detailed one with locations, days, times etc. so he could know where we were / how to contact us if there was an issue. I thought all was well and good, but they never responded until a few days later they emailed me what Luke and I jokingly now refer to as the manifesto. It was long, rambling, repetitive, and still somehow partially written by ChatGPT. The gist of it was, what kind of mother on a 3-week vacation without her kids? I'm a terrible person in general for asking a young mother to have her stepkids full-time for 3 weeks while I go and enjoy myself. She kept calling Tessie a young mother, I think she means mother of young kids and I know it's not the point but it kept annoying me. Also it wouldn't be alone with her, Greg would obviously be there. I am a horrible co-parent for asking them to have the kids for 3 straight weeks while their kids are so young. Their newest baby will be 6 months old by then BTW. Apparently it's all well and fine that Luke and I don't want any more kids. He has had a vasectomy and known he didn't want kids of his own for a while, but we'd better not think that gives us permission to dump Louisa and Ted on them to gallivant around. I don't think I've ever gallivanted in my entire life. We needed to figure our own weeks out ourselves, this was not life or death and it was ridiculous to ask them. I got petty after this, especially them acting as if we are constantly dumping the kiddos on them, so I went through the last 4 years of texts and made a spreadsheet of how many times either of us has asked the other to keep the kids and the duration on an Excel sheet. While we both have made these requests, they have done so for 87 nights 52 times versus me 12 nights 8 times. Obviously, this makes sense since they have a baby, and I didn't send it to them or anything, but it was good to know I'm not crazy. My friends say I should tell them that, fine, I won't keep them during their custody time after their new baby comes. I'm not going to do that. I love my kids and want to see them as much as I can. But I do a lot extra for them, just some examples. I sometimes Luke if he's off work pick the kids up every single day after school, and on Greg's custody weeks I drop them off at their house since he doesn't get off until 5 so that Tessie doesn't have to take the baby out to pick them up. Keep in mind that she does not work anymore. Our divorce decree says that whoever's week it is must drop the kids off at the other parent's house, but I've been doing all of the back and forth for a while again because they have a kid and because it's not that far 5-minute drive, 20-minute walk if it's nice. I take the kids to all of their appointments, do all of the school parent stuff during the day, etc. Since I have a super flexible schedule and Greg's isn't, he would need to use PTO for all of this stuff. We usually split health insurance per the divorce decree, they're on his work's insurance but since I take them to all of their appointments etc. I pay all of the co-pays. I keep a tally just in case I would end up owing him money and I know what he pays towards the premiums, and in the past it was minimal, but our daughter unfortunately has type 1 diabetes which has gotten pretty expensive. It wasn't killing me, but Greg mentioned how tight money was once when I was bringing it up and I decided that it's not affecting my life, our daughter needed it, so I've been letting it go. Their son has been in the process of being diagnosed with autism, and has pretty bad meltdowns. This is all I know from Greg, so they call me pretty frequently to see if I can come and get the kids for a few hours if things are overwhelming. Of course I love my kids and spending time with them, but I've had to cancel plans for this and they have not cared. Greg was in an accident and has been using my old car. I got a new one and hadn't sold the old one yet. It's not worth a ton or anything for the past 7 months, with no effort to replace it. Greg travels sometimes for work, and Greg and the kids have a cat over there. Normally Louisa would take care of the litter box if Greg was traveling, but since her diagnoses and until we get her labs/health under some form of control, we both agreed that we don't want her messing with it. They let the cat go outside during the day. Since Tessie has been pregnant she said she shouldn't have to, and Ted is a little young. He tried, failed, now he helps lol, so I've been doing it. Anyways, these are all benefits for them that I'm going to inform them are ending. I won't go back on my word to have the kiddos after she has her C-section, but the absolute gall of them to not do the one thing that I have asked of them and that I've done for them have brought me to this. Most of my friends say I'm not going far enough, but a few have said that it might cause a breakdown in our co-parenting relationship, which would affect the kids. That's really the only thing I care about, so now I'm hesitant. Relevant comments. Top comment. Honestly, I would send an email with the spreadsheet pretty badass IMO and let them know that you don't appreciate their ungrateful attitude and that you are more than happy to go by the parenting agreement forward. People want to be petty and ungrateful, so do I, lol. Reply. I just feel like the best thing for my kids is to have a good co-parenting relationship. My friend's parents were divorced and they did not get along and made her childhood miserable. It's not their fault we didn't work out and I want to do everything I can to make their lives not that much harder. But I agree I need to stop being so accommodating. It will be a horrible wake-up call and I just don't want them to make my kids' lives worse. Another person replied, so I had to be the person to tell you this Han, but what you have is not a good co-parenting relationship. What you have is two people who are running roughshod all over you and using you to make their lives easier and to skimp out on the care that your ex-husband should be offering to his children to make their lives easier. I think the best thing to do would be to send them an email, attach the Excel sheet that you have and let them know, since they feel so strongly about sticking to the parenting schedule and people skimping out on the care/dumping. That dumping wording really upset me. The children, the best thing to do moving forward is to stick to the letter of the parenting plan, since it seems that that's what they rather do starting immediately, which means that the previous times that you've agreed to cover in the future are no longer on the table no matter what, and they need care of the children your ex-husband had because he cannot have children, get remarried, have more children and then pretend he doesn't have a duty to care to the rest of the children. Another top comment. They are really biting the hand that feeds them. I would respond to the email saying, wow, I'm so surprised at this response given the positive relationship and co-parenting dynamic we have had thus far. We will make other arrangements for the kids for that week. I'll also need to be selling that car, so let me know if you want to buy it priced at $XXXX or I'll come to get it 5 days from today. I also can't be continuing to care for your cat, I'll be stopping as of now, and Louisa still can't do it. I will still keep the kids for your 2 custody weeks in July as I had previously agreed to, but going forward we'll be working off the assumption that you will cover your time with them as I will with mine. I'm sorry you prefer this type of arrangement. I was pretty happy with what we had before, but I understand. They may walk it back, or not. But if they don't, you don't have to be a doormat. Another top comment. Nta. Don't let anyone walk over you. They said you were dumping the kids on them when they were doing exactly the same. Reply. I just hated the word dumping, as if my kids aren't a delight to be around. I mean, for their parents, I'm not one of those crazy moms or anything. I just can't imagine saying they were dumped on me. Update. Whipta if I stopped doing all favors for my ex since he refused to do one for me. Hey everyone, I don't know how to link on mobile, so my last post is in my profile. I got way too overwhelmed with the responses, but like I thought, I was completely being taken advantage of, and the friends telling me to let it go can suck it. JK, I know where they were coming from. They were just wrong, and my egg Greg and Tessie do need to be introduced to my good friend Reality. One thing I didn't mention in my last post is that Greg and I have a long history. I've known him forever, since we moved to his mom's neighborhood when I was 4, we were always friendly, and then we started hooking up when I was in college and got pregnant. In his defense, he 100% stood up, married me, took care of us, paid for everything while I finished school, and even paid for my college. But even before all that, he's always been a great guy and my friend. I know it seems like I was being taken advantage of, but of course over the years people probably thought I was taking advantage of him before I started making the big bucks. It was me who filed for divorce. He said he could probably go to therapy and find a way to make it work, but I knew I couldn't ask him to do that. And there has been reciprocity in other ways. After we divorced, he definitely helped me a lot in setting up my new home before Luke and I got together. Doing things like mowing, cleaning the gutters, fixing appliances. Obviously those things don't happen anymore, but I'm just saying it hasn't always been me doing everything. Finally, all of this has not been thankless. Up until the manifesto, they were incredibly and vocally grateful and appreciative. Doing things for appreciative people is great and makes me feel good. Unfortunately, now that we are living in the post-manifesto era, I don't get any joy from helping them out like I used to. With all that being said, I can't continue bending over backwards for him just because he was good to me before. Anyways, I got pretty mad at myself at my last post and decided to respond to the manifesto. As I was hyping myself up though, Greg called. I was pretty amped, so I decided to answer. He started with apologizing. He didn't say it directly, but I got the gist that Tessie wrote the email in anger because of how overwhelming everything is. He reminded me that it wasn't just his son's issues. Louisa was also struggling to get her diabetes under control. Any other type 1 parents can probably relate, and she misread my email to think that I was asking for them to keep them for 3 of my custody periods for a total of 6 weeks. Going back to the manifesto, I can kind of see where she was saying that, but it wasn't the most coherent thing to begin with. He said 1 week for our honeymoon is totally fine and they will figure it out. He acknowledged that it was entirely inappropriate and uncalled for. Unluckily for him, I was not in the best mood and told him damn straight it was one of the most deranged and untrue emails I've ever read. I asked him if anything they wrote in the email rang true to him in the cold light of day, and he admitted no. I had kind of been going back and forth on this, and was originally going to tell him to go to hell and we would never switch custody times again. I didn't care if they had 5 more kids with C-sections, but I decided against going that far. I told him that I would get the kids when Tessie had her C-section, keep them through my custody, and would expect them to have them back during his next custody period, which still gave them 10 days to recover, etc. If he needed more help, I expected him to figure out any extra childcare for our kids like he will need to with his other son. He started arguing, but I just bulldozed through and told him that he could make this and all of the other times I've helped him out with childcare by watching the kids during my week during my honeymoon. He said that sounded fair and thanked me. But I told him that the email was so far out of line that any and all extras I've been doing were over immediately. He could either find a new carpool, no bus, private school, or I would keep picking the kids up from school, but he or Tessie could get them from my home during their weeks. If they are unable to care for the children due to their son's meltdowns or their new baby, I would be willing to help them, but warn them that due to their accusations I would start LOL tracking this, and if I thought it was becoming an issue I would file for primary custody. I asked him if that would help. He could have the kids every other weekend. I wouldn't demand child support in light of his very difficult situation, even though I know I could, and he insisted that wasn't necessary, that it was on them to figure things out. He really didn't have a lot to say back to any of this and apologized again. I told him that it wasn't impossible to rebuild the trust we have had in the past, but it was going to take a lot of time and hard work on his and his wife's part because I was done putting in so much just to get attacked. He promised he understood and he'd figure everything else out. I told him that since this was another verbal aka not legally binding agreement, the first time either of them slips up, makes outrageous demands, or says anything remotely close to what she wrote in that email, I would bring down the hammer because due to the attacks on my character I now had a lawyer on retainer. Hadn't met with the lawyer yet, but sometimes you need to bluff. He confirmed he understood. Tessie sent me a text apology. It seemed sincere, but I don't trust her. I know Greg wouldn't throw her under the bus. but the fact that she thought it was okay to send such a demeaning and demonizing email to me after all I've done for her really ruined any grace I was willing to give her. I sent her a short acknowledgement text, and went on with my day. Both their lives are about to get much, much more difficult. If they try to put any of that discomfort or difficulties on my kids, I will move swiftly, but also if it means that my kids get a little less at their dad's house than they do here, that's not the worst lesson for them. Their needs will always be met, I know that, and they've been in therapy for a while, so while I'm concerned that Tessie could take her frustrations out on them, I truly think they would tell me. I read so many other stories on here and realized that, 2 things. So the thing with the car, it's meant for my friend's stepdaughter for when she gets her permit. She is 15, and we all love her so much, but she has that disease that 15-year-olds get where she really doesn't have any motivation whatsoever. So I was talking about all this to said friend, she told her husband, and he marched upstairs and told his daughter to get dressed so she could go and take her permit test. She failed, but is going to try again next week, and he is purchasing the car next week. Greg knows he has until then to acquire a new one. And the cat isn't Tessie's cat. It was Greg's guilty divorced dad first Christmas gift, lol. I really like the cat, she's very sweet and snuggly, and I haven't minded helping, especially since Louisa does feel bad she doesn't do it anymore. Honestly, if it wasn't for that I probably wouldn't have agreed to help. Luckily the induction is soon, and Greg won't be traveling for a while, so it's a moot point. Obviously if they were to decide to get pregnant again, they would need to hire someone to do the litter box going forward. I've probably only done it 3 times, but I see that was crossing some boundaries I should have put up. I'm going to keep enjoying the life that I've worked hard to build. I know they'll always be around and in my life, and it's unfortunate for them that the choices they made got them in this situation, but they're going to have to rebuild their village. I'm excited for the wedding and especially excited to go to Japan. Those things, and of course my kiddos, are my focus going forward. Peace. Relevant comments. Commenter 1. Threatening him with the lawyer on retainer was a smart move. However, you should not have mentioned not getting child support if you get primary custody. You need to further polish your shiny new spine, because sneaky people like them they'll just back off and hope it goes back to how it was over time. Commenter 2. Does anybody else feel like Tessie just doesn't want their kids around now that she has her own? Commenter 3. Go to the step-parent subreddit and you'll see post after post from women who pull this. The minute they have the ours babies, they do their utmost to restrict when the kids can come over, when the kids can talk to their dad during mom's custody time, when the kids can sit next to their dad, or snuggle their dad, or talk to him during custody time, what activities the stepkids are included in versus the real family activities, what photos the kids can be included in. It's sinister watching these adults unapologetically scheme to weaken and sever the father-child bond because they want to know their husband picks them over the kids every time. And it's appalling that the kids' dads rarely notice or do anything. I think here it's also exacerbated by Tessie's envy over the OP's life. The OP is out of the baby years. She doesn't have to parent a kid through screaming autistic meltdowns 24/7/365. The OP has money and time. In Tessie's mind, since the OP can give all this to her kids, Tessie is more than entitled to everything else as a way of making it fair. Reply: yes, I've seen some crazy stuff on those subreddits. To be honest, I found Reddit because I was Googling some of the verbiage in the manifesto and it brought me there. I even showed some to my fiancé because I know I'm not in their shoes, and he just said they're probably all just bitter and resentful, because nobody becomes a step-parent through forces out of their own control. Commenter 4. 100% she is sabotaging your good relationship on purpose. Get the group chat closed, all communication through your ex so she can't pick fights without him knowing. She's done well to torch your goodwill with one email. Also it's a biological thing, resource guarding to give your offspring a lift. Reply: yeah, well, unfortunately for them it's a biological thing to stop helping people when you're attacked out of nowhere. Ex's new son has autism, what are the right boundaries? So my ex and I had some recent issues to say the least, and I'm completely pulling back any favors that I used to do. It's deserved on his and his wife's end, but it is going to hurt them. They have a little boy who's 3-4-ish, and it seems profoundly autistic, still not speaking, has meltdowns, self-injures. In the past, since I live close, if their son was having a very severe meltdown and my kids were there, they'd ask me to come and get them, and I usually would. Unfortunately, they have behaved badly and I will no longer be doing this. They're also about to have another baby, which I'm sure will be stressful as well, so I understand it will be difficult. I obviously don't want my kids to have to deal with anything traumatic. The little boy is still their brother and they do love him. And I think it's important for them to have the time with their father and his family. That being said, I obviously want what's best for my kids. How do I help them remain positive while also protecting them? Relevant comments. Forget about your ex. What is the best thing you can do for your kids in those instances? That is all that matters. Reply. Of course, but he simply cannot rely on me during his parenting time. I just want to know when to step in. Another comment. How old are your children? How violent are the meltdowns? Are your kids frightened by them? Are they possibly in physical danger? You have a duty to do right by your kids, even if that means doing your ex a favor they might not deserve. I, personally, wouldn't want my kids to have to be on a situation where a violent meltdown was occurring. Yes, in cases where it's a nuclear family, kids don't have a choice, but your kids do. I had a younger brother with very violent outbursts. It was difficult for me, but I was pretty much a teenager when they got truly bad. For our younger brothers, it was even more frightening, and they sometimes even got injured. If there was an option for them to not have to experience that, my parents would have jumped at it. Reply. 7 and 9. They are pretty extreme and loud, but he only injures himself or someone trying to help him. My kids have their own rooms and can always go to them, they aren't in danger during these. If they were in physical danger or if that were to change, I would run every light on my way to file for full custody. I have no intention of my kids living a dangerous or traumatic childhood over this. You're right. Yes, my ex and I need to make parenting time work and not rely on one another. But my kids have been so good about the divorce, and I know it can't have been easy, and yes, this is one benefit they have. Stories number 7. I am 26. Asked my girlfriend's F26 best friend F26 on vacation with me when my girlfriend cancelled. My girlfriend and I have been together for 3 years now. She has a best friend who is always around and we have become friends over that time. My girlfriend and I had planned a vacation in August. It's a month-long trip and something we've been planning for years. We both get very good vacation time, so it wasn't a problem. Something came up with her work and now she cannot go. My girlfriend's best friend is between work right now and I know she's always wanted to go on a similar trip. I asked her to go and she said she'd love to. She needs cheering up as she's been very down about her job loss and job hunt. I hadn't mentioned the plan to my girlfriend beforehand, and when she found out she was pissed. She doesn't want me to go on the trip with her best friend. She thought I would take one of my best friends or my brothers, but most of them are working and wouldn't have been able to go even if I asked. She says she can't support the two of us taking her dream vacation without her, and it's weird that the two of us are planning to vacation alone together. She's barely speaking to me now. I know that it was hard for my girlfriend to miss this, but it wasn't my fault and I needed someone else to go with. I know I should have discussed it with her beforehand, but I was so upset about trying to find someone to go with, I didn't want to waste any time asking her friend. TLDR, my girlfriend cancelled on our vacation, so I asked her best friend to come instead. Now my girlfriend is pissed at me. Is this really that weird? I don't want to waste this vacation time and vacation. Thoughts? Relevant comments. Commenter 1. This is very weird. You fucked up big time, buddy. This is wholly something you should have discussed with her ahead of time. How would you feel if she were going on a month-long trip with another dude? I get that you are friends with her friend, however there are certain standards and boundaries one must abide by. You just totally overlooked that. Reply. I know I should have discussed it with her. I was excited when her best friend started saying how she wanted to do that trip, too, so I asked her. And I thought because it was her best friend she'd be okay with it. When told to scrap the trip, it's 4 weeks of vacation time I already got off. I would rather go alone than scrap it altogether. I'll talk to her again about it. When told not to bring the friend, I feel bad uninviting her now and I would prefer to go with someone. Maybe she'll back out since I'm sure my girlfriend already talked to her or will talk to her. She's already struggling right now because she's unemployed. I feel bad for getting her hopes up. Commenter 2. So, you asked the friend before asking your GF if this would be okay? LPT, don't make big decisions without consulting your partner, and don't take other women on romantic holidays, however platonic your friendship with them may be. Moving forward or nope. I got nothing. Let's hope the friend is into you, because you've probably lost your GF here. Reply. I thought it would be okay because it was her best friend. Commenter 3. No. She's still female. How would you feel if your GF went on this trip alone with one of your best friends? You'd feel doubly betrayed. You also not only did not ask her how she would feel about it before you invited the friend, you then didn't even tell her after the fact. So of course she thinks there is something shady going on. I'm surprised she hasn't dumped you. This is incredibly inconsiderate. Commenter 4. A month alone with another woman on a dream vacation. Let that sentence really sink in. She may be a friend of yours and she may be your partner's best friend, but a month is a long time to run off with someone. Also, I know that maybe you don't plan on anything happening, but she needs cheering up and always wanted a trip like this just screams hot sex to me. This is going to be a bonding experience. Most would be uncomfortable with it. I don't care how certain you are that this would be platonic and innocuous, this is just a little too much right here. The fact you didn't check with your GF before asking, might look suspect to her. Edit, I will be meeting with the best friend tonight to apologize for everything, but that it isn't appropriate for her to come and I'll be going alone. I'll let you all know how it goes. Update, I met with my girlfriend's best friend. I told her that the trip made my girlfriend uncomfortable and I could understand why. I said that it would be better if I went alone and I apologized for inviting her and disappointing her. She got really upset and started going off about how she screwed up her friendships with my girlfriend and me like she screws up everything, how she is terrible at her job and that's why she was fired, how she's going nowhere in life, how she'll end up alone. She told me that sometimes it's hard to speak to my girlfriend since she's always so positive and nice about everything, but she also has a very good life, good job, nice boyfriend, and she was jealous of that. She admitted she was looking forward to this trip as a recharge for her, but agreed not to come. She said I was a good boyfriend and hoped she could find someone like me soon. I disagree with this completely, but oh well. We talked for a while and I just got back. Top comments. Commenter 1. Dear God, no. You blamed your girlfriend's feelings. Instead of admitting it was simply inappropriate and you should never have asked. You have probably irreparably damaged your GF's friendship with her best friend. Congratulations. P.S. It's also obvious from this girl's response how incredibly inappropriate this trip would have been. From her reaction there is a 90% chance she would have made a move on you during the holiday. Commenter 2. You used your girlfriend as the scapegoat? That was unfair and cowardly. Why do you care so much about the friend's feelings? I'm not saying be horrible to her, but your girlfriend is the priority. The fact that going on the trip with anyone, rather than going alone, makes your girlfriend sound disposable. Wasn't it supposed to be something special for the two of you? I also agree with the other comments regarding the appropriateness of the friend accepting. My best friend is male. We have been friends for 7 years. I have been in relationships and been single during our friendship. At no point would I ever go on holiday alone with him. He would never ask either. Not because something would happen. It wouldn't. However, it would feel disrespectful to his partner and mine, and frankly I would find it a little weird. Holidays are usually quite romantic and he is like my brother. I'll just make it clear, she became my good friend too. They are now the parents of my goddaughters. This isn't about lack of trust. It is about respecting boundaries. It doesn't really seem like you understand why what you did hurt your girlfriend. It seems like you are just agreeing to follow the majority. Stories number 8. I owe to my flatmate inviting his entire family to stay with us and expecting me to stay somewhere else. My flatmate 30M invited his entire family to stay the weekend Friday through Monday next month. 2 adults and 2 teenagers, in a 2-bedroom apartment. He came to me to ask if it was okay. He'd already invited them and assumed that I would go and stay with my parents that weekend. I start a new job next month so would need to be at the flat both the Friday and the Monday, so I said no because it would mean traveling late Friday and traveling back on Monday early enough to come home and get ready for work and leave whilst they're still there. Also I don't want to risk any problems or being late whilst I'm training at my new job. After I said this I heard his mom on the phone talking about how I'm rude and disrespectful for not letting them stay. I didn't know my housemate was on speakerphone with her when he was talking to me. His phone was in his pocket. I tried to explain to both my housemate and his mom that it just wouldn't be feasible, even without the fact that I would literally be in the second week of a new job. Not that emo, it's fucking insane to try and fit 6 people into a 2-bedroom apartment, but they called me selfish and that I didn't have to be rude about it. Am I overreacting for thinking this is really disrespectful? Not only inviting them without asking me and expecting me to stay somewhere else, but creating a situation where I look like the bad guy to his mom. Commenter 1. You are so NTA. Your roommate, however, is an AH on many levels. First, talking to you about this before he made any formal invitations. Second, trying to put 4 more people into a 2-bedroom apartment is nuts. Third, expecting you to go somewhere else while his family is there. Fourth, and I'm assuming this, but I suspect he was expecting you to let other people sleep in your bed without your consent to do so. 5th, having this conversation with you while he is on speakerphone with his mother. 6th, attempting to get you to agree to this fiasco just because his mommy was on speakerphone. 7th, he obviously knows your job situation and that you are only on week 2 of your employment, and if you were late to work that would not be good in the eyes of your employer. 8th, him allowing his mother to insult you and not stopping her in her tracks. 9th, not apologizing to you because you said, no. Unless you have an extremely good relationship with your roommate, I would be looking for a new place, possibly with a better friend or with someone who treats you with better respect than your roommate now. I'm sorry you're having to deal with your roommate because you have done nothing wrong. Commenter 2. One time many years ago my mom was coming to help me out after some hand surgery. I checked first with my roommate to see if mom could stay with us or would she need to stay in a hotel. She agreed to it. Mom came with a thank you gift for my astonished roommate. She stayed for a couple of days, then we flew out to meet up with my dad in another state. But the couple of days she was there she made dinner for all 3 of us. Once home, Mom sent my roommate a thank you note. Mom knew my roommate didn't have to agree, and that her presence was a bit disruptive. She was very grateful, as was I, that she was allowed to stay. If Terry had said no, Mom would have gladly stayed at a nearby motel. This is how visitors should behave. Commenter 3. I would look at your lease. There may be stipulations that prevent that many people from staying in your apartment anyway. Either way, they're being unreasonable. The only way this would be a reasonable request is if they were paying for you to stay elsewhere and for your transportation to and from. Since that would negate the cost savings of staying there, they'd likely refuse. Also, if you want to be petty as hell, tell him that your family is coming the week after and will require the same arrangements and see what he says. Stories number 9. Aita for telling my lesbian ex-wife that her partner cannot be my son's mom. Hi all, throwaway because my friends are not completely aware of this current situation. I 35M was married to my ex-wife 34F for 7 years. 2 years ago my ex-wife came out as lesbian. This came as a complete shock to me. She and her partner were co-workers who had an affair since she joined the company a year before our divorce. We have a son together 8M. This came as a complete shock to me. I was heartbroken and devastated. I felt betrayed as I had spent 7 years of my life with this woman and it all felt like a lie now. When I confronted her she told me that she had to live her truth and that she tried to suppress her identity because she didn't come to terms with it till she met her partner. When I asked whether she loved me she told me that while she loves me it's different than how she loved her new partner. This broke my heart even further. The divorce was quick as she did not want anything from me and we agreed to a 50-50 split of custody, but I decided to go no contact with her and handled the custody transfer process through my sister 27F whom I moved in with after the divorce. I sold the house and we mutually agreed that the excess money from the sale will be in a college fund for our son in the future. I could not bear to stay in that house anymore as it kept reminding me of her betrayal. For context, she introduced her partner as her work friend and I believed her. I had no reason to suspect anything and they had several girls' nights but I figured that they were probably using these as cover for the affair. For 6 months I was in a depressive state because I didn't know where I went wrong. But this is one of those scenarios that anything I would have done wouldn't have been able to make it better. This made me even more depressed and the fact that all the vows and little things that she said at our wedding were all just lies trying to keep up a ruse made it even worse. The 2 people that got me through this state was my sister, whom I am eternally grateful for helping with her nephew and helping me while maintaining her career. The other person that got me through this was my college ex-girlfriend. Around 4 months after the divorce we reconnected at a reunion and she really helped through the worst of it as a friend. Around a year after the divorce, we started officially dating, and I introduced her to my son. During all this time my ex's partner had been having limited interactions with my son. This was not because of me saying anything but my ex-wife wanted him to adjust to his new reality. My son is in that weird age that he understands what's going on but he doesn't really understand what's actually going on. If you know you know. He understands that mommy has a girlfriend and that me and his mom are not together anymore. I'm pretty happy considering we didn't really talk to him about the LGBTQ stuff because we had decided that we can talk about this when he's a bit older, but I'm happy that he's come to terms with the divorce. Around 8 months ago, my ex said that she was officially moving in with her partner and that she was engaged. At this point I still was on no contact except brief conversations that concerned our son. She invited me to the wedding but I declined. They were planning to have a destination wedding in Spain where her girlfriend lives. She wanted to take our son to the wedding and he would have to miss school for a week since she wanted him to meet her girlfriend's family as well. I told her that missing school for a week does not make sense and that she should plan her wedding when he has vacation since she doesn't have a fixed date yet. She argued that most likely they won't have a date that will align with his vacations and that they are getting married as soon as possible. I relented and agreed since I didn't want to interact with her anymore and it was well within her rights to have her son at her wedding. The problem started when my son came back after the wedding. He was supposed to stay with me since we have a flexible week-in week-out custody arrangement. She wanted to take my son on her honeymoon so that he has a chance to bond with his new stepmother. I told her that she had already had 2 weeks with him since she had custody for a week before the wedding and that I wanted to spend some father-son time with him. I told her that it well within my rights and that she should go spend some time with her new wife. She argued that since our son's interactions with her partner were limited because of her busy schedule, that this was a great opportunity for them to bond. I told her that she had 2 weeks for him to get to know her partner. She said that they were busy with the wedding and did not have time. I told her that I had taken vacation days for us to go to a motorcycle expo and build a Lego set, 2 things that my son absolutely loves. She kept arguing and I finally told her that the custody was placed for a reason and that's the one thing I will not negotiate on. She got angry at me and left. Me and my son had a great experience. I even got him one of those kid-sized motorcycles since he liked them so much. Over the next few weeks we returned back to our week-in week-out routine. One day I find that my ex posted a photo shoot of them and my son under a caption of lesbian mommies. I thought that it was post and it probably meant nothing but it was showing them as a family and something about that did not sit right with me. When I got my son for the week I asked him that if his mom was saying anything to him. He relented a bit but told me that his mother had been trying to convince him to call her partner his mom. This was a shock to me as I never expected my ex to do this. Then again I've been wrong about these things before. I asked him if that's something he wanted and he told me that he is much more comfortable calling her by her first name and that he feels weird with calling 2 people mom. I told him it's okay and that he shouldn't feel pressured to do anything. I called my ex and asked her to meet up because this was serious and I wanted to discuss this. I confronted her about this and she told me that since her and her partner were married, it's only natural for our son to have 2 moms now. I told her that it's not okay for her to try and convince him into calling her partner his mom because she is not his mother, she doesn't have an active parenting role in his life and that any major parenting decisions require the 2 of us. She tried making an argument that since me and my girlfriend were becoming serious now and that eventually I might want him to start calling her mom. I told her even if we become serious I won't try and convince our son to start calling her mom, because he already has 2 parents and he doesn't need more. Then she dropped the bombshell on me. She told me that she and her partner were hoping that eventually down the line they can file for adoption. I'll still be able to visit and see my son but she wanted her and her wife to have legal guardianship because they wanted to build a new family with them. I told her absolutely not and that our partners have no say in our kids' lives. She accused me of being homophobic for denying her the right to a complete family and I told her while her life is her choice our son's life has to be a thing that we decide ourselves. I ended the conversation there and told my son to tell me if her mother tries to force him to do anything that he doesn't want to do. 3 weeks later I found out that my ex had enrolled him in Spanish lessons that he told me that he hated doing. For context my ex is Latin and her partner is Spanish so they are more comfortable talking to each other in Spanish. We made the decision to raise our son in English because it made sense at the time as she speaks English better than Spanish and I don't speak any Spanish. When I discussed this she told me that she would like her son to connect more to his heritage. I said that I don't have any problem with that but we have tried this several times before when we were married and he had shown zero interest in it. She told me that this time might be different since he will have 2 Spanish speakers at home. I told her that I am in all favor of bilingualism because 2 languages are always an advantage especially for kids but if he doesn't want to do it there is no reason to force him to do it, maybe try another language. She then accuses me of denying our son his roots and goes on a tirade of accusing me of denying our son his identity and coming back to me denying her right to a family. My girlfriend usually stays out of these matters but she advised me to contact my lawyer and see what they can actually do. My lawyer told me that even if they send an adoption notice, I can contest it and it would take something exceptional like abandonment etc. for my contest to get rejected. My ex keeps posting our son as a part of her new family and it's honestly started to trigger me. 2 weeks ago I interacted for the first time with my ex's new wife after the divorce. She contacted me and asked to meet up. She told me that my ex had finally started to recover from the social trauma of coming out and building a new life with her and that I am now getting in the way of the happiness. She accused me of being emotionless and uncaring through our divorce and how I guilt-tripped her into agreeing to my demands of 50-50 custody, and how I should just agree to the eventual adoption in a few years because she has always wanted a son and that I will still remain my son's dad and I can still visit him. I told her that I don't care what her emotional state was during the divorce and that my demands were fair even to the most irrational person. I told her that if they want to create this image of perfect family, then they should have another kid that has no connection to me. I feel like all this has started to affect my son more than anything. He is a lot less happier than he was just a few months as we had started to adjust to this new reality. For context, since I know this is gonna come up eventually, the emotional trauma of my ex coming out is basically the fact that her family effectively disowned her after coming out. Her parents don't talk to her anymore, while my son has plenty of interactions with his maternal grandparents when he's with me. Those two combined make significantly more money than I do alone. However, my ex-wife makes less money than me, but her partner is in a senior position, so she has more stability. This is also an argument my ex-wife used when we discussed adoption, since they can then send our son to a private school and generally give him a better life. I don't know if this is a factor, but the recent elections may have caused this because they are worried that they might not be able to adopt soon, but they don't want to adopt my son now but in a few years, so I doubt this to be true. Comments. Commenter 1. NTA, your ex is trying to erase you from your own son's life. Document this as much as possible in case they do attempt to file for adoption. You will have proof they are just trying to push you out for their own benefit. I would also get your son in therapy if possible. It must be so uncomfortable and difficult for him. Also, as lesbian, you're not being homophobic. Your ex and her wife are cooked and need to touch grass. Commenter 2. She's also prepping for parental kidnapping with the mommy naming, Spanish lessons, and adoption. Her AP lives in Spain. Next they'll want a travel waiver with State Department, and OP will never see his kid again. Vacation will be the excuse. Update. It's been crazy seeing everyone's reactions to the situation, and I wanted to share a quick update with you all. First of all, I'd like to clarify that my son and I have been going to therapy since the divorce. He was doing quite well until the whole mom saga happened. My in-laws disowned her after she came out. They were not even aware about the affair when she came out to them. They still spend time with my grandson under the condition that they don't badmouth my ex and don't preach their views to him. They agreed and said that they valued a relationship with their grandson over any political view they might hold. I have been a part of every interaction that they have had with him because I was worried they might say something. Thankfully, this has not been the case. Her extended family has said to me that they have all cut her off as well, some for the affair and some for her being gay. Our mutual friends also cut her off because of the affair. All our mutual friends were my work buddies and their spouses. I did not ask them to do anything, they came to the decision on their own. I was actually glad when she told me that she had made a friend on her own, as she used to complain about not liking her colleagues. We all know how that turned out. I'm pretty sure they're not planning to skip the country. I have all my son's documents and we decided it during the divorce because she was still figuring out where to go, and since I was moving in with my sister, the chances of them getting misplaced were low. I have also had no demands for any documents and she returned the passport to me when we came back. The whole adoption thing probably stems from the fact that my son has a very close relationship with his mother. The only times he has really complained to me is when she asked him to call her partner mom and that she was making him do Spanish classes that he did not want. We did everything for him equally during our marriage, but I had to travel out of state to my parents frequently during COVID because they were sick with pre-existing conditions and couldn't take care of themselves. My sister was on an assignment abroad at that time. My sister also agreed with this. Please let me know your thoughts. I listened to people and contacted my lawyer, who is also my friend, today morning. He told me the same thing as last time and that it would take something really unusual for the adoption process to go through, like child abandonment. He also said that they are a bunch of idiots that have no idea how the law worked. He also told me that if the whole "we wanna adopt him" is a real thing and if she is talking shit about me to my son and I could prove it, I could get custody. This has not been the case, as I've not heard my son say that his mom says bad things about me. This brought me a sigh of relief. I plan to contact my ex today with the following conditions. We both install parenting apps and document all interactions. No more mention to me or my son regarding adoption or calling her partner mom. No more posting images of my son as a part of their perfect queer family, because frankly, I don't want my son photos on the internet when he is so young and he can decide what he wants when he is older. I plan to talk to my ex in a couple of hours. Please let me know what you think about this. Comments. Commenter 1. I'm sure that living your life in the closet, and then coming out only to find her worst fears were true family abandonment. However, while her emotions are valid, how she is handling them is horrible. She is literally using her son as a pawn, and any aversion she's receiving she genuinely believes is homophobia rather than the fact she's genuinely being a terrible mother. You have every right to live your truth, but you cannot just erase the father of your child. Reply: I agree that her emotions regarding coming out are valid, but the whole thing has been overshadowed by the fact that she is gay. I'm trying my best treating this the same way if the affair was with a man. But I have to disagree when you say that she has been a terrible mother. She has not said anything to my son that's negative, nor has she done anything wrong with him yet apart from the calling her wife mom thing. Commenter 2. Okay, maybe not terrible mother, you are right, but her choices of trying to adopt your child and move to another country. That's not putting your child first, that's putting yourself first. Reply: I agree with that, and I have to say that she's changed a lot after the divorce. I didn't really discuss this on the post, but there have been a lot of changes in the way she looks and acts, but so far none of that has affected our son in any negative way. Update: so I talked to my ex today. She was busy yesterday and I wanted some more time to gather my thoughts. When we met, I put forth my demands. She told me that the parenting app idea seems fine and that she has no problem with it. She got sad when I told her to drop the idea of adoption and calling her partner mom, as it's just not gonna happen. She told me that her family was pressuring her to settle down. I proposed after a year of dating and I did not know this, and getting pregnant so soon after getting married was not what she had in mind. She got pregnant 1.5 years after getting married. Is that soon? Ick. She told me that she was in the closet all her life because of her parents and that she thought marrying me would cause her feelings to subside and that she was happy until she met her partner. She did go through postpartum depression after giving birth, but I did not know that she didn't want to get pregnant so soon. She then told me that her wife and her, that the reason they wanted to adopt my son was because she wanted to start new. She then said that she was never really happy during our marriage and that with her new wife she could have the family she always dreamt of having. She didn't want my son to grow up to resent her for being a lesbian, as he doesn't have either any exposure to people like her apart from her and her partner. Look, I have to be honest here, I don't know any gay people, nor anyone in my friends or family is gay. We never talked about these things because it simply doesn't come up in our daily life, but that doesn't mean me and my son has no idea who they are, especially after the divorce. I told her that this is not going to happen and that he has had a lot of exposure to people from her community. I told her that seems like a bullshit reason for separating my son and me, and that she is making up some random reason to make her seem like it is. After some arguing, she told me the real reason why she and her partner want to adopt my son. Reddit is crazy for their prediction abilities, like honestly, wow. Apparently they wanted to adopt my son because her wife and her are considering moving to Spain in few years. I told her that she can't do that and that the legal framework supports me and my rights in both countries. She told me she knew this and that's why they wanted to get me to sign adoption. I told her that she was crazy, that she in no way is able to do this, as she still need my permission to take him out of the country, as when she did when they got married in Spain. I also read a comment yesterday on the update and researched a bit on the laws regarding this, so I know this is not happening. She told me again that they have done their research, that this was to see if I would agree. In case I agreed they would consider moving, and in case I don't they won't, because she doesn't want to be separated from my son. I again emphasize that this is not going to happen and that if she tries anything or says anything to my son, I will sue for full custody. She got sad again and told me that they wanted to check with me first. I told her, in what world would you expect me give you and your wife full custody? First you divorce me, leave for me a woman, and then expect me to sign over my child and act like nothing happened. I told her from this point on we will document everything, every interaction we have, and that if I even get a whiff of you trying to pull something I will sue for full custody. She got a bit scared at the idea of losing full custody, i.e. she didn't really consider me doing that, and she agreed. I then told her not to paint this picture of a picture-perfect queer family that they are trying to do, because that is not going to happen. Our son has a mom and a dad that he spends half his time each with, not two moms. He is not your affair partner's son. He is your son and mine. If you want a child with her you can do so on your own. I then told her that the courts are more likely to side with me than you in this case because of the thing you have been trying to do and the fact that I work from home and spend more actual time with him than you and your wife. I have been trying for him to have a stable relationship with both parents since the divorce because I don't want him to resent either of us, but if you try to remove me from his life, I will sue for full custody and deal with any resentment he has for either for us. I didn't want to argue anymore and I left the room. I secretly recorded the conversation because I wanted to have proof in case anything happens in the future. Honestly, Reddit, I have been very angry at my ex since the divorce. I have not shown it around her and my son because I don't want her to use this against me in any way and have been going to therapy, but I am still internally angry. The comments she made today about our marriage really hurt me even more. I have spent 7 years with this woman and her betrayal still makes me angry to this day. When I got home, I contacted my lawyer friend and he again reiterated that they would have to kidnap him. I asked him if there was anything else we could do and he said that the current agreement is very thorough, we have made sure of that. If I want full custody or not is up to me, but I have to be sure that I want to put me or my son through the whole process. I don't want my son to grow up without either of his parents as that is just not healthy for him. That is why I want Sue for full custody now. If they are stupid enough to kidnap him, I'm sure they are not. Then the law sides with me anyway. I know what position her partner is at their workplace, so I know they are making good money to leave it all behind for no good reason. As for the passport thing, I have all his documents and all things such as notifying travel, hospital visits, and others are already in the signed custody agreement. We already have a legal framework for all this. I am not going to sue for full custody now because I don't want that for my son. My ex-wife is still good mother and loves him and he enjoys spending time with her, plus my son is the type of person to openly voice out what he doesn't find okay to me, so I will know if they continue any of their nonsense. On a more positive note, y'all, I'm not against Spanish lessons, but he doesn't like them. I was just suggesting that he try some language he like, there are other languages out there. I didn't say it to my ex then, but now I know that she was trying for him to learn Spanish because of the Spain thing. Thank you to everyone for their support, really helped me with understanding the problem. Holy shit though, I didn't even consider her considering moving to Spain until I read the comments. Y'all are great at this. Comments. Commenter 1. You could notify Customs and Border Protection of the potential threat your ex-wife and new wife pose with regards to taking your son internationally. It's called the Customs and Border Protection Prevent Abduction Program. If you Google it you will find links to a description of the program. It would basically put CBP on alert if ever your child is attempting to board an international flight. CBP monitors passenger information in real time and would be alerted if CBP would be immediately informed by the computer system. They would notify the Department of State and the appropriate CBP authorities wherever your son may be to prevent his departure. Commenter 2. OP this right here. BC once they are out of the country getting him back is extremely difficult. Commenter 3. $10 ex-wife and her partner will try to pull another stunt in the foreseeable future. I still hope it won't be the case, but after trying to toss OP aside and steal his parents' rights, I won't trust any word X says. Update. Weirdly enough, I thought the last post was the final update, but a few weird things have happened. My son was with my ex for the last week, and came back to me yesterday. I wanted to write this update because people have been very helpful, although I did get some hate messages in DMs IG. This is typical after posting online. Things have cooled down in the last few days and so have I. Me and my girlfriend decided to get out of the city for a few days when my son was with his mom, and it's been really healthy for the both of us. Yesterday when she dropped my son off, we had a little talk. She apologized and told me that she will not force our son to do anything. She then told me that she is sorry for trying to convince me for adoption and that she will not do it again. I said fine and told her that it was a stupid idea in the first place. She then told me that she had news and that they are planning to adopt a child, since they really needed a complete family, and that I should not force to give up my son. She sounded a little condescending while she said that, but I didn't go after it too much. I said whatever makes you two happy. She then told me that after they adopt a baby, she wanted to revisit the custody agreement, since she will have to make time for the new baby as well. She also told me that they have decided that her wife will be hands-off with my son and won't try and put herself in the role of a parent. I told her okay and that it's probably for the best since he already has parents. My son also told me that his mom told him that he might have a sibling very soon. He said that he was excited at the idea. Personally, I don't think it's bad either as long as they don't try to push me out of my son's life. Here's where I am a bit conflicted. She told me that she wanted to revisit the custody agreement in the future. I am worried since they couldn't adopt my son, they are now trying to adopt a baby. This seems to me like a weird solution to a weird problem. Revisiting the custody agreement so soon after we had a fight over adoption seems extremely weird to me, and this has been a very strange turn of events. If they could adopt in the first place, then why put me through all that? I genuinely don't know how to react to this now. I don't know if revisiting the custody agreement is a good idea or not. I know I should be happy at the prospect of having more time with my son, but don't know what to do now. Edit. She didn't put anything in legally right now, but she has told me what she wanted. She wanted them to switch from a 50 to 50 to 75 to 25, where she wanted him for a week in a month. It was all hypothetical, so I don't know whether or not to take it with a grain of salt. Comments. Commenter 1. It's a tacit admission from her that since your son can't be adopted and their family be complete that way, they will need less custody to focus on the child that makes their family complete. Your son can't be solely theirs, so they don't need him anymore. Don't be surprised that once they get that baby, they move to Spain and your ex doesn't call your son much, if at all. Commenter 2. I don't care if I sound mean, but the ex-wife and her wife don't deserve kids. They are two morally bankrupt and emotionally unstable individuals who tried to use a child as a pawn. She kinda revealed herself there when she admitted that their do-over family is not complete because they can't adopt the son. I already feel sorry for that adopted child. Commenter 3. Exactly. She doesn't care about her son, he's just a toy to her so she can play house. Now that she and her new spouse can't take him, she's starting the process of dropping him from her life. It's pretty sick. I'm glad the son at least has one parent who wants him and loves him. Commenter 4. You do nothing but focus on your life, which includes your son. Whatever your ex is doing with her new wife is her circus and not your problem. As long as she's still an attentive mother to your son, that's all that matters. Reply. Yeah, but I can't help but feel like she's going to push my son out of her life because she couldn't adopt him. I don't know if that it is healthy for my son or not. She told me she wanted to revisit the custody agreement. It also seems like a flimsy solution to the problem they started. If they could have adopted all along, then why only decide to do this now? Update. It's been a few months since the last update, but a lot has happened. Basically, a couple of days after my last post, my ex-wife confirmed that they had actively begun looking at adopting a baby and had contacted an agency. A couple months after that, she told me that we have to now revisit custody arrangement as they had received some positive news from their agency. At this point, the custody arrangement worked fine for me and my girlfriend. I told my ex that any custody discussions have to take place in the presence of a lawyer, as I am not trying to make any commitments without lawyers present. We met and she suggested a weekends arrangement where my son would spend weekends with her and weekdays with me. My simple argument against this was that even if I am now in a WFH role, I still have work and my son has school and extracurricular. So a majority of our time together is on the weekends. If she takes up all the weekends, she would in effect have me take care of everything else and she would enjoy the majority of the free time. She told me that I would spend more time with him since he will be with me around 20 days a month as opposed to the usual 14 to 15 that I get. I told her that this does not work for me and that she would have to suggest another arrangement for this to work. After some back and forth for a few days, we finally agreed on 2 weekends a month. I was honestly surprised to see her agree to this because it basically meant he will be with her around 4 to 5 days a month. I was also able to go on vacation with my son this summer as me, my girlfriend and him visited India. It was an amazing experience and I also proposed to my girlfriend on this trip. My son was happy for me. After we came back from vacation, the updated custody agreement kicked in from July. My ex also adopted a baby boy. I was surprised how quick the process was, as from what I learned from Googling was that it usually takes longer. My son spent time with me as they were settling with the baby, but the problem was that since school ended, my son had not spent a night at his mom's. While I understood that they needed time to adjust and bond with the new baby, and my ex and my son have regular contact on calls, we dropped him off twice to spend some time with his baby brother. Still, I was not expecting almost 1.5 months of him not spending a single night at their house. During July, my girlfriend, now fiancé, ended up spending more time with him on the account of her being a teacher and summer vacations. They started to become close since I had to go into the office for the past few weeks the vacation. I felt like a hypocrite in this situation because I was blasting my ex's partner for the same thing. I have contacted my ex repeatedly, but she always tells me that they are busy with the new baby. I didn't know what to do in this scenario, as it is not really in my control. My girlfriend respects the boundaries of a parent and does not try to force my son to do anything he doesn't want to, but she has also started to connect with him and has told me on several occasions that she loves spending time with my son. Now the situation is that last week, my ex finally asked for my son to spend the weekend at their place. I don't know exactly what happened, but my son told my ex about the things my fiancé and him did during the last couple of weeks, and apparently that ticked her off. During the transfer, she went off on me and accused me of being a hypocrite and said that I was forcing her to be his mom. I told her that we are living together now and the fact is that she is not forcing him to do anything and he does not call her mom but rather by her first name. I told her that if she wanted to spend time with our son during summer she should have adhered to the custody arrangement. She told me that she was busy with the baby and finally she has some routine and breathing space again. I just told her that we had an arrangement for a reason and that she wanted a change for her new baby and she has no right to complain if our son enjoys spending time with my fiancé. I told her that our son did not enjoy spending time with her partner and I don't force him to do anything with my fiancé. Thankfully my son did not hear my rant. Basically right now the situation is this: she wants things a certain way and when she gets them and it does not work out, she gets angry. I honestly am a loss of words at this woman. For the past 3 days I have been considering what to do. I feel like her wife has a significant part to play in this. I have no doubt that my ex loves our son, but I feel like she is subconsciously being forced to play this ideal family dynamic thing. I have seriously started to feel sorry for her for being in this situation, but I have no idea what to do or any desire to do anything. I was seriously surprised she agreed for the 2 weekends a month agreement, and I feel like her wife had a major part to play in this decision. I have completely lost the ability to think that I loved her at one point, as she has transformed into a completely different person. My only focus right now is my wedding. My son has also settled into a routine under the new arrangement and I do not want any change right now. I don't want to waste time, money and mental health on another discussion on custody. I thought I would write this update to rant on this situation. It's been only just over a month since they adopted and she is already upset about the new custody arrangement. Now, he will spend 2 weekends a month as per the agreement and I am willing to let her spend time with him during vacations. If she attempts to revisit this arrangement, I am ready to invest some money and discuss this in court. Comments. Commenter 1. Her wife is totally pushing your son away for the new baby, and is taking X with her. Nta. Just document things and wait to see what happens down the road. Commenter 2. In 10 to 20 years she's gonna wonder why her son wants nothing to do with her. Commenter 3. Oh man. Her wife wanted to be able to play house with your son and erase you from the picture. When they couldn't have that, she was fine adopting and having her little family be whole without your son. It was never about your son. It was always about control and keeping outside influences to a minimum. Stories number 10. My 25F fiancé 30M told me his business partner is a priority over me because, sorry if this is long, Reddit, but understanding my problem requires some background info. My fiancé Nick and I have been together 3 years, engaged 1. I'm a grad student who's pretty broke and works odd jobs to pay for school and life. He's a mid-level executive pulling in 6 figures who works from home and has a ton of downtime and freedom. Recently, he created an app that allows him to produce these digital goods he can sell online. I can't provide more detail. He completely controls production and distribution of his goods, and the only cost is essentially maintaining the software. The stuff practically runs itself now at zero cost to him. There is huge demand for these goods in this small community online, and a few months ago Nick found someone there he could trust, Joe. Joe sells the goods for Nick, who doesn't like doing it, and takes 50% commission. The money is good enough that you could leave your day job doing it, although both haven't. Ever since he built the app, Nick has been trying to get me to sell these goods for him as well. He likes when I work from home so I can share his lifestyle with him, plus the money is better than a regular job. After a while, I agreed and started to sell. Initially, Nick asked for 10% of what I made, which was cool. Then I noticed he started getting unhappy with how I was selling, but unreasonably so. He'd start an argument if I gave a customer a $2 discount for a $70 order. Apparently Joe was unhappy that I was selling on his turf and was bitching at Nick about it, and Nick was taking it out on me in turn. Keep in mind there are more than enough goods and customers for Nick to hire 5 to 6 more sellers on top of me and Joe. The arguments continue, selling is becoming unbearable for me, and Joe's complaints are just unreasonable. But Nick keeps saying that I'm the one who has to accommodate Joe and fix things. Finally, I tell Nick that I feel like he prioritizes Joe over me, and he replied, well yes, I get 50% of what he makes, so he's a more important seller than you. I have to prioritize him. That hurt my feelings, and of course I wanted the arguments to end, so I offered to give 50% of everything I sold to Nick as well so that I could be treated equally as a salesperson. He agreed. Of course, Joe still wasn't happy. His complaints continued that I was stealing his customers and undercutting him. I wasn't. I came up with a fair solution of matching our prices, to which he agreed, but then he actively started undermining me as a seller. He would tell me he was selling something at $50, I'd follow suit, then I'd find out he was selling them at $20, that kind of shit. Anyway, I told Nick about this and he essentially told me the same thing as before, Joe was a priority and he was tired of dealing with our drama. He also said that Joe was an established member of the community, he had a large footprint as a seller who's been doing it years before me, and he was irreplaceable. Joe finally came clean and told Nick that he was unhappy that I was selling at all. He doesn't want to take money out of his mouth and put into hers, and therefore he doesn't want to have any sort of sales system with me even though it was his complaints that led to that. Nick thought his feelings were reasonable, and started telling me that he didn't have to be my employer, and that he owned the whole thing and could shut it down any time. He said he wanted both Joe and me to be happy, and that I should work with him on finding a solution, ignoring that Joe said he wants me out and was obviously going to sabotage any solution again. I was so disgusted and tired of the whole thing that I quit selling yesterday. Joe is happy, Nick is happy that he doesn't have to deal with the drama anymore. But I'm resentful towards Nick. I don't know if I'm in the wrong, but it's making me rethink our wedding. TLDR, my fiancé Nick prioritized his business partner Joe over me because he paid out more in commission. I started paying the same, but Joe wanted me out of the business, so Nick let it happen. I'm now unhappy with Nick and resentful. Edit, I'm mostly unhappy because Nick treated me poorly. He always took Joe's side and made Joe's problems my problems. He straight up told me I wasn't as important because I wasn't giving him as much money, and even when I gave him 50% I still wasn't. Relevant comments. Commenter 1. Is Joe okay with other people being hired that aren't you? If Joe is not okay with hiring more people, he could be hurting the business, and if this is just about you, then he is an ass. Either way, that sounds bad. I would quit working for your BF anyway in case this all goes sour. Uneasy face. Reply. I did quit working for my fiancé. Joe is unhappy with anyone else selling. This does hurt my fiancé's bottom line, but obviously keeping Joe happy was more important than his bottom line. Mostly I'm upset because I'm his fiancé, I was paying out the same amount as Joe, and Nick still treated me poorly. Commenter 2. You have a much bigger problem than you realize. Your fiancé is treating you like an employee, not a fiancé. I am sorry for your pain. Nick fiancé was a jerk and you have a right to be pissed. Reply. Shit, even if I wasn't his fiancé and was just an employee, I'd be pissed. No employee would put up being treated like that, especially if they're paying out the same dollar. Commenter 3. Anyway, I told Nick about this and he essentially told me the same thing as before, Joe was a priority and he was tired of dealing with our drama. Ah, poor ignorant little Nick. What he calls drama that he's tired of dealing with is actually his job duties that he's obligated to perform as founder of the company. I sarcastically and condescendingly say poor ignorant little Nick because I'm pretty irritated upon reading your post. The dude is super wealthy from his inventions and job, owns his own app, hires 2 salespeople, and doesn't even realize that he has to manage the salespeople. He hired Joe, then later he hired you and gave you part of Joe's territory. Maybe his business decision is that it's okay to split up territories, in which case he needs to tell Joe to shut the fuck up and get over it. The company is growing and sales reps will have to get along with other sales reps, or maybe he wants to give each sales rep their own exclusive territory, in which case he needs to spell that out clearly to both of you so that you don't overlap with each other. Either way, it's his decision to make and execute, and he is way out of line and an ignorant fool who obviously has never ran a business before for trying to push it off on you two to figure out for yourselves and calling it drama. LOL. It's business, dude, business. Tell him to grow up and run his business like an adult. Reply. Thank you, I'm really irritated and resentful as well. Nick refused to tell Joe to cut the crap, and basically told me that I'd have to be the one to come up with a compromise. Then when Joe sabotaged the compromise, Nick still sided with him. I'm so mad right now. Nick's being all cute and affectionate cause he knows I'm mad, but I can't let go of the resentment. I just don't know if that's enough to call off a wedding, but I really want to. Update. Keeping all your advice in mind, I sat down with Nick last night to have a talk about the venture and Joe. At first, he was defensive. He accused me of entering the business and demanding to change the system Joe and I created. He said I'd been acting like an entitled girlfriend asking for him and Joe to cater to my whims. I was so baffled by this version of events that I made him discuss each event chronologically. He tried to put the blame on me, but I wasn't having any of it. Eventually he admitted that everything was fine with me until Joe started asking for changes. That is the only time I started coming up with proposed changes to the system because neither he nor Joe were coming up with any but kept telling me something needed to change. Then he finally explained why he'd been acting the way he has. So it turns out that Nick doesn't view Joe as an employee the way I was, but viewed him as an equal business partner who was there with him from the beginning and has equal say in the business. That was why he was irreplaceable. He apparently told Joe that I would only be selling temporarily, which is not what he told me. Naturally, Joe started getting miffed when it turned out I was there to stay, especially when I started selling a blizzard of goods, in Nick's words. He hadn't expected me to be so good at selling. Nick apologized, said he handled the whole affair very poorly, and said that I wasn't to blame after all. I accepted his apology, but I told him that none of it had been a reason to treat me badly and that it showed that I was still not a priority. I told him that I haven't been a priority since the beginning of our relationship and that marriage was not on the table anymore because I really need to be a team with my husband. He went quiet and then started talking about how he feels like he has to cater to me all the time, keep me entertained, and that my life revolves around him. I was really surprised by this because I lead a normal life, school, work, etc., and detected a hint of contempt because I'm not entirely consumed by work like he is. After a bit of prodding, it turns out that Nick is one of those people who prefer living by themselves, having 30-hour coding marathons alone than passing out for 15. Any kind of relationship where you see each other more than 3x a week is too much work for him, essentially. That isn't conducive to any relationship I want to have, and that hint of contempt really sealed the deal for me. He thinks I'm too high maintenance in attention and effort, and I think he's not meeting my minimum requirement for a boyfriend, let alone a fiancé. We expressed these things to one another. I did mention the horseshit distribution of labor, too. At the end of the discussion, I told him the wedding was on indefinite hold and that we would be living separately from now on. He seemed bummed out but accepted it. I think he really feels that our relationship can work that way. He seemed pretty damn chipper this morning. I know I need to leave him immediately. The problem is that we have a 2-month-long international trip coming up in a week that I cannot cancel, so I want to make that as painless as possible. That trip has been 10 years in the making and entails family members I haven't seen in a long time. After that, I'll move out and let him know it's over. TLDR, talked to Nick, he apologized. Turns out we are pretty much opposites in relationship requirements. Breakup imminent post-trip. Edit on why the trip is necessary. This is actually a very involved trip into a couple of continents. We have a shared apartment in Europe that we were planning on emptying and ending the lease on. We're both needed for that. The second leg of the trip is to my native country and he's not needed for that. However, he's already paid thousands of dollars in non-refundable airfare for it and has been excited for months about it, so I'm not about to yank that out from under him. Our relationship may be ending, but I don't hate him. Honestly, he knows what me moving out means. He's a smart guy. I've always made clear that living together and getting married is important to me, so he knows. He's also someone who avoids unpleasant conversations like the plague, so it won't be awkward. This trip is making the best of things, I suppose. Relevant comments. Commenter 1. For Real's girl, I cannot believe you considered this acceptable in a life partner. That he would not pay for your flights or the difference in cost between yours and his so that you could be together on a vacation. That he was okay with you basically being a second-class citizen compared to him on a trip you were taking together. That is breathtakingly selfish to me and I am shocked you do not see this. Reply. It never even occurred to me to ask. I don't even know how I'd ask. If he'd offered, I would have been super pleased and happy, but I don't think I'd ever ask. I don't know what to say. He only does this on pricey international flights and vacations. For cheap local trips we usually fly together, and he covers my tickets especially if I'm only going to keep him company for work and it's not a fun place to go to. Also, he stays at hotels far beyond my price point. I don't pay for those, he covers them entirely. He also usually completely covers car rentals. But at the same time, he'd get those things regardless of whether I'm there or not, so I don't know. How would OOP describe the relationship? Interestingly enough, we mesh really well as living partners and there are very few annoyances. We're comfortable with approximately the same amount of mess, we have similar entertainment habits, we don't do anything weird that drives the other one up the wall. Our eating and sleeping habits are pretty much identically weird. It's just my actual existence that's an annoyance. He just needs 4 days a week when I'm not there. Ain't gonna happen for me. How will OOP handle it with her family? I'll introduce him as a fiancé and say the wedding date isn't set, which it isn't. My overseas family won't care if they find out we broke up later, they're not that traditional or religious at all. Update 2. We went on the trip and it was really great, I got to see family members I hadn't seen in forever. It also repaired the relationship between Nick and I, which actually sucks in hindsight because I just wasted more of my life on him. So for a year after the trip we did fairly okay. Soon after, we went to visit Joe in person in his home state. Once there, we met his wife and we saw that his family life was highly unstable, drug-addicted wife, marriage falling apart while we were there, Joe was clearly an alcoholic spiraling. This seemed to open Nick's eyes and he became a much more respectful partner to me. He started treating me better and being more present, but he was still useless at home chores. It also helped that his app got shut down and his business ended. No more selling. At that point I graduated from school and started working. Nick developed a crippling video game and alcohol addiction. For 3 years he did basically nothing else. It was horrible. He gained 100 pounds, started ignoring me completely, and refused any help I offered. He became verbally abusive and just plain mean. I really tried to salvage things for a couple years but it was unworkable. I called off our wedding 6 months before it happened in 2019, after he completely abandoned me when I was having a medical procedure done. Today, I moved to a different state, have worked at the same company for 6 years making decent money, and live in my own apartment downtown of a major city. I travel a lot and live a very comfortable life. The men I've dated since Nick have been better in every way. They cook, clean, are attentive, plan dates. I don't think I'll ever marry though after this experience. Nick and I are vaguely still friends. It's hard to cut off completely after nearly 10 years together. We rarely see each other. He now has a very dependent girlfriend that he has to do everything for. He has apologized to me several times and acknowledged how shitty and exploitative he was during our relationship. So yep. Stories number 11. Aita for refusing to split the dinner bill because my dish was half the price of the others. Last week I went to dinner with work colleagues. The agreement was for everyone to order what they wanted. I ordered a more standard dish and a drink, which came to about $32. Most ordered appetizers, expensive dishes, desserts and various drinks, and the bill for the table came to more than $400. When the waiter brought the bill, someone suggested splitting it equally. I said I didn't think it was fair, since I had spent less than half of what they had spent. I explained politely, but the atmosphere became strange. Some colleagues said that the fun is in sharing and that I was being cheap. I ended up only paying for what I consumed and left a good tip, but since then I feel like some people are avoiding me at the office. One of them even commented that I ruined the night and that adults know how to split the bill without complaining. I was really uncomfortable paying almost double what I spent. But now I'm wondering, Aita for not wanting to split the bill equally. Commenter 1. You're being cheap. Ugh, that old chestnut again. I don't think you understand what cheap means. Being cheap means not being able to pay for what you've ordered, but expecting others to subsidize your bill. Commenter 2. Facts. People love tossing around cheap when someone just doesn't want to pay for stuff they didn't order. Wanting to cover your own tab isn't stingy, it's just fair. Commenter 3. The fun is in sharing. Absolutely, as in sharing food that is meant to be shared. Not as in sharing other people's bill. NTA. Commenter 4. NTA. Everybody has a budget and they make choices accordingly. Splitting is something you all want, or all don't do. I would stop going out with these people. Also a tip for if you are ever in that situation again, go to the bathroom before the discussion about the bill starts. There is always the risk of a majority wanting to split, then to the place where you pay your part and tip. Then inform the others that you just had a text and you need to leave right away, but don't worry, you have just paid your part including a tip for your part. Stories number 12. Aita for telling my dad's wife she screwed her kid out of grandparents. So my 20th dad is with his affair partner Laura. He and Laura have a kid, Lucy 13F. Lucy was conceived after my dad and Laura were already together a while. Her birth wasn't the reason my parents split, in case anyone is wondering. But obviously my dad's family knew about the affair once my parents split, and they banned Laura from ever attending family events. To this day the only people on that side of the family that have met her are me and my one cousin who came to stay with me at my dad's for a few days one time. My grandparents told Dad they'd happily be active in Lucy's life, but it would have to be Dad that facilitated the relationship, meaning he'd have to bring her to see them alone. Laura said no. I guess she thought eventually she'd force herself into the family through Lucy, but all it did was mean no one ever met Lucy. My dad would take me to my grandparents' or aunt's place without Laura and Lucy, and that was just how it went. Well, it recently came up that my grandparents were giving me money towards buying an apartment when I graduate, which set Laura off. She's always been bitter that my grandparents financed my schooling but my dad paid for university. She was passive-aggressively grumbling at the dinner table that this is why she felt we could have asked them to pay for my university and that it would be nice if Lucy got to have grandparents, but some people are petty and cruel. I looked at my dad like, are we really playing that game? But he didn't say anything. Then Laura turns to Lucy and goes, "You should know none of this is your fault, life isn't fair and you got the short end of the stick with certain family members." So I just said, yeah, the short end of the stick family member is you, Laura. Lucy could have had the same relationship with my grandparents that I do, but you were so selfish that you screwed your own kid out of that. Laura argued that no one who hated her could have a relationship with her daughter, so I was like, well, what are you mad about then? That your principals ended up sabotaging your kid? Maybe that's on you. At this point my dad was giving me a death stare, so I just went back to my food. Laura sent me a text later that night about how much she didn't appreciate me saying that in front of her child and that it was her prerogative how she managed that relationship. She also said my dad's family are cruel and vindictive. I didn't reply, and honestly the only reason I don't have her blocked is in case my dad is taken ill suddenly. But now my dad is saying it's caused issues at home because Lucy is finally grasping that Laura is the one who wouldn't allow her to have a relationship with Dad's side and is now apparently pretty mad about it. He's saying the way I went at Laura was inappropriate in front of a child and that Lucy shouldn't have heard all that, but I think she only heard it because her mother was retconning reality. I didn't mean to cause an issue between Lucy and Laura, but honestly I do feel like Laura was asking for it by acting like an idiot in front of someone who knew the whole story. Edit, just to clarify, no, my dad's family didn't immediately forgive him. For a long time they only invited him to things if he brought me during his custody time. But time heals most things. They all still think he's a prick, but honestly I'm sure they thought that before. No, they haven't totally cut him out because we're just not that kind of family. But Laura was never family to start with, so it's way easier to never make her acquaintance than to cut out your blood relative that you've known for 40 years. I think that's fairly obvious. I am not mad that Laura set the boundary she did, and I'm not mad my parents got divorced. I got mad that Laura set a totally fair boundary that my dad went along with, not saying he's blameless, he's just not the one actively complaining and then tried to pretend that the consequences of said boundary shouldn't have happened. If you don't want your kid around people who don't like you, understandable, why are you whining that they're not around for your kid? Relevant comments. Commenter 1, NTA. She's 13 and it's better she knows her mom was the issue and not her child's self. I wouldn't be surprised if she starts asking you for hard truths going forward because her mom spins shit, so she's always the victim. I assume Lucy knows her mom was an affair partner initially. Can't imagine the fantasy her mom spun about them being destined and nothing, not even a wedding ring could stop their love. It sucks the rest of the family cut her loose to avoid her mother. She's innocent and too many kids end up ostracized with this kind of thing when they should have just saved the rage and freeze out for the actual guilty parties. Reply, I honestly couldn't answer this. I barely see Lucy and Laura. I presume she does. I remember I threatened to tell her when I was like 14, but I never did. But obviously she was way younger then. She probably knows now. Commenter 2, NTA, you told her the truth and she is now dealing with the fallout of her actions. Your grandparents are allowed to have a boundary about who they want at their house or around them. And your stepmom is allowed to not like it and keep her kid away from them. But she isn't allowed to rewrite reality to fit her narrative. Your dad is also a problem. He should have shut her down when she started talking about his parents in front of his children but didn't. You standing up for your grandparents when she is bad-mouthing them is understandable. I feel bad for your sister because of her mom, she doesn't know a lot of her family. Hopefully, her finally knowing why she doesn't know them, she will be able to talk her dad into taking her to see them without her mom. Reply, yeah, this is how I feel. I don't begrudge Laura her boundary, a lot of mothers have that boundary I think. But it has to be a boundary and not an attempt at blackmail. They just took her at her word. Commenter 3, Laura brought it up in front of the child. Laura was using the child feelings as a weapon for her snide comments. Laura used the child as a pawn. Laura is somehow shocked her monologue became a dialogue. Laura is a fool. Your dad allowed this to happen to his child. Once again your dad allowed his child to be negatively impacted by the selfish self-satisfying actions of adults. Your dad is a selfish person. Your dad is okay with his children being deeply, emotionally wounded. Your dad is a fool. Both are now seeing the results. And now both are deflecting and denouncing their roles. Shame on them. They set up the child for an adulthood of therapy, because I'd bet my shoe, that child is not in therapy. But sure, yeah. This is all your fault. NTA. Reply, my dad is the most selfish person I've ever come across. Me and my dad actually went to therapy together, that's why I still have a relationship with him. I understand him and expect absolutely nothing from him. Because although he does really try to care, his care only goes as far as it doesn't inconvenience him, and that will never change. Commenter 4, Lara brought all of it up in front of her daughter, so that's on her. She could have easily asked you to talk in private. But, she didn't. I guess you were just supposed to listen to her insult your family. She thinks you should just take it. Nope. It's her prerogative how she manages all her relationships. It's your prerogative to respond to her nasty comments as long as you aren't directly cruel to Lucy. You didn't curse, you didn't say Lucy is a terrible kid. You understandably, IMO stated that the lack of relationship with your father's family is a reflection of how her relationship with your father began as deceitful, hurtful to your mother. Actions, meet consequences. NTA. Question. How does your father's family react to him? Reply. They kind of cut him out for a while, like they'd only speak to him/invite him to family events if he brought me. That went on for a few years. And then eventually it was a bit like he's a POS, but he's our brother/son. Which is the way it goes in our family. Not saying if you do something violent or criminal it's swept under the rug, obviously not, but nobody goes NC just because someone's a dick. You just don't talk to them much. And one of my aunts doesn't talk to my dad much, and he's not really that close to my grandma. But it's not like a fully cut off thing. We don't really do that. Why don't OOP facilitate a meeting between Lucy and their grandparents? Reply, because that's not my place. Lucy is a minor, her parents decide who she can see and where she can go. I may think Lara is an idiot, but she's the mother here. I'm not close to Lucy, at all. Before this I hadn't spoken to her in 18 months. I don't actually live in the same city as them anymore, but even when I did we've never been anywhere alone. I'm not going to insert myself now just to stick it to Lara. That's not right. Imo. Where are Lara's parents in this? Reply, Lara doesn't talk to her parents. Her dad was some kind of psycho like DV and all sorts. I guess the mother picked him over her kids. Commenter 5, did Lara consider that your grandparents may offer you support and money to help make up for the fact that their doofus of a son broke up your home? Reply, my grandparents did it for all the grandkids. It's so that we all went to the family alma mater high school. My dad isn't broke, but he doesn't have that kind of money lying around. Update. First thing that happened, Lara would not stop texting me. Not like constantly, but once or twice a day about her feelings or demanding a response/conversation. This middle-aged woman having a crash out via WhatsApp was not on my bingo card, but eventually I just had to tell her I don't want to block her because I do want to be there for my dad in an emergency, but I was going to if she didn't stop bothering me. More crash out material. I called my dad and told him to get his household under control because this was getting crazy. I wasn't going to apologize to her, and in my whole life I've never had as much contact with this woman as I had in the past week, and I wouldn't allow it to continue. My dad was kind of getting that it was an actual issue now, and I pushed him a bit and the dam broke. So the wider context I was not aware of is that Lucy is only now putting the pieces together of how Dad and Lara got together. She vaguely knew about the affair, but I guess she's finally getting what that means now that she's older and how much damage it did, and she's been asking a lot of hard questions about it and has been really down about it. That's probably why Lara was so triggered by the mention of my grandparents and in a rush to put her spin on it. But since the dinner, Lucy has really been raking Lara over the coals for it apparently, because she knows my dad would have let her see the extended family were it not for Lara. My dad also shared that Lara basically feels like she spent a large chunk of her life being punished for the affair and it's weighing on her because of how hard Lucy is taking it. Side note, a lot of people were rightly roasting my dad for the affair, but if the above should prove anything, it's how much he is definition of a cockroach. The way this man manages to get away with diabolical behavior relatively unscathed is shocking. The second thing that my dad said, and uncharacteristically admitted was a fuck up, was telling Lara that probably part of the reason no one ever eased up on meeting her was because they all knew I can't stand her. And I hold my hands up because I did a lot of bad-mouthing Lara back in the day to my grandparents and aunts because, well, I don't like her, and when you're a teenager you think that needs to be everyone's problem. I don't think this is as big a reason they still won't meet her as my dad probably made it seem, but he did admit he threw me under the bus for it ages ago and Lara has never forgotten it. She thinks me poisoning the well is the whole problem. So that's probably got a lot to do with her complaining at me specifically. My dad did acknowledge that it was a mistake to tell her what was said, and while I wouldn't go around talking bad about Lara now, I don't feel bad about sharing my feelings with my family at the time. I did ask my dad if Lucy was going to be allowed contact with the grandparents, but Lara is still saying no, but he said she's close to cracking just because of how much of a hard time Lucy is giving her, so he's going to wait it out. In the meantime, I haven't heard from Lara in a couple of days now, which is what I mainly wanted from the situation. What else to put in this update? If anyone had any lingering questions feel free to ask, but if not, thanks for the advice. Relevant comments. Commenter 1, sounds like stepmom fucked around and found out. Honestly, don't bother anymore. It's not going to solve anything, just give her more ammunition. But if she continues bothering you, let Laura know that she's just feeling the consequences of her actions, and if she has an issue, provide her a box of tissue, and say scram not going to miss you. Reply, unfortunately if she keeps bothering me I'm going to have to block her, which just feels like such a bad idea in case something ever happened to me dad, but hopefully she has realized I have no interest in being involved now. Why is OOP keeping her father and Laura in her life? Reply, Laura is not in my life. Prior to the dinner in the original post, I hadn't seen her in a year and a half, and I never speak to her if I can help it. My dad is in my life because despite his immeasurable selfishness, he's not all bad. He's tried his best to be a good dad and there's a lot of things I love and appreciate about him. He's not winning any parenting awards but he has always shown up for me, practically and emotionally, and I consider him a net positive addition to my life. Does Lucy own a phone? Can OOP block Laura, but keep open to Lucy? Reply, she's 13, I'm sure she has a phone, I don't have the number though. TBH, in an emergency I don't think it's appropriate for it to be a child's responsibility to inform family. But if I have to block Laura in the future I'll make you my dad adds me or one of my aunts as an emergency contact so we don't have to rely on Laura. Commenter 2, where is your mom in all this? Is she in contact with your paternal family? Sorry OP, I feel bad for Lucy but Laura is a typical cheater in title behavior. Oh, it's everybody's fault but mine. Reply, my mom is remarried and very happy She had some contact with my dad's family when I was younger from bringing me around etc. but she hasn't stayed in touch since I was able to make my own plans etc. How is OOP's relationship with Lucy? Are they close? Reply, I don't have a relationship with her honestly. Big age gap, plus I was rarely at my dad's, can't stand her mother, etc. I don't live locally to them either. But even if I did have a relationship with her I wouldn't sneak a meeting with my grandparents, I don't think that's appropriate at all. Laura is still the parent, I wouldn't go around undermining her decisions that wouldn't sit right with me, even if I don't like her. Commenter 3, your dad is also kind of spineless though isn't he? He could have put his foot down and demanded Lucy have a relationship with the extended family but he's Lara's little bee isn't he? Reply, he's not spineless as much as he is committed to doing whatever is best/easiest for him. He doesn't want to spend the energy fighting with Laura over this because it doesn't benefit him. When he actually wants something, the spine shines up, let me tell you. Stories number 13. ATIA for forcing my husband to choose between me and his mother. I 31F and my fiancé 36M are set to get married in July this year. We met through a mutual friend earlier years ago and our relationship progressed. He's literally the perfect guy, but the problem is his mother, Katie fake name. Katie has been critical of me from day one. She often tells my husband that he could do better and I am just an uneducated slum. I could usually disregard her, but when he proposed she went to a whole new level. The main incident occurred when we went to visit her a few days ago to announce our engagement. My future husband excitedly showed her the ring, but she just grimaced. She looked at him and, I repeat, said, are you really going to marry that R-word gold digger? My husband laughed nervously and we left quickly after. A little context, I have high-functioning autism, it doesn't affect me too much on a daily basis, but I have trouble interpreting emotion. After we got home I sobbed and asked my husband to tell his mom this needs to stop. He didn't say much, just that he loves me and he will get better, but he can't say anything to his mom. When I pushed for answers he said he can't do anything about it and left. His sister sent me a text later telling me I can't make him choose between me and his mother. I'm so confused because I literally didn't even ask him to do that. Is there something I'm missing? Comments. Commenter 1. NTA, you aren't making him choose. His mommy is. Commenter 2. Don't do this to yourself, don't. Update. My fiancé came home the next morning 2 days ago and started acting like everything was normal. He didn't even mention the fight we had. Finally, that night I sat him down and asked him why he was acting normally. He responded that, it was a minor fight, and we shouldn't dwell on it. This made me mad because it was a big deal for me, and that fight made me question our relationship. I told him this and he scoffed. In that moment I looked at him, and asked him, is it really not a big deal that your mother called me an R-word gold digger? He just scoffed again and said something about her getting older and not knowing what that meant. I was done at that point. His mother is 63 years old and acts the same way she did when I met her years ago. I packed a bag, called my friend to pick me up and left. I've been staying at her place since then. Not sure where my life is headed now. Comments. Commenter 1. He knows it wasn't a minor fight. He just knows you're in the right about it, and didn't want to address it. Commenter 2. Your life is headed to freedom and happiness. Your boyfriend can remain tied to mommy forever. Maybe she can even learn to do that thing he really likes. Fiancé post. ATIA for choosing my mom over my fiancé. Hey Reddit, yesterday my friend sent me a post on this subreddit that was made by my fiancé. She totally makes me look like a villain, so I just have to say my side. We've been dating for a while now and it's been great aside from the past few days. My mother 63F is a single mother that raised me and my sister alone. She has always been the most supportive mother ever and I love her to the end of the world. She is getting on in her years now, and is not the same person she was. She has always been a little overprotective of me, and so she has never fully accepted my fiancé. I didn't think it was that big of a deal since she doesn't say anything directly to my fiancé. Then last weekend when we were announcing our engagement at her house, my mom wasn't too thrilled and I admit made a rude remark regarding my fiancé's autism. We left quickly after and I comforted my fiancé for over an hour. I ordered her takeout, made a bath for her and put on a movie. I explained to her that my mom is getting older and doesn't have full control of what she says. My fiancé kept pushing and I eventually snapped and told her I can't do anything about it. I'm not sure my fiancé understands because she doesn't have a close bond with her mom. I stayed at my mom's house, went back in the morning. Long argument short, my fiancé started blowing the comments my mother made way out of proportion, not even bothering to mention her age. Like I said, my mom is old now, she doesn't understand this fully. She left and I haven't seen her since. Her friend contacted me and said I'm the AH for choosing my mom over her. I'm not choosing my mom over her though, and we are still getting married, so ATA. Comments. Commenter 1. Age is not an excuse to be a shitty person. After 63 years, your mother doesn't have the self-control to keep rude comments to herself. You absolutely could have done something. You chose to not defend your fiancé because you're too busy hanging on mom's teat. YTA and your fiancé dodged a fucking nuke. Commenter 2. My husband is going to be 62 in July. I didn't realize he is old and should no longer be accountable for what he says. Commenter 3. Perhaps you should have remained quiet and let us think you are an ass instead of posting and removing all doubt. Update. So anyways, after he posts this he calls me and like an idiot I pick up. And let me tell you, this man did not sound stable. First he was crying begging for me back and then he was screaming at me to get the F back here. It was heartbreaking to hear the man I thought I was going to marry sound so pisco. I recorded the call just in case I needed evidence and then I hung up and blocked him everywhere. About an hour later he shows up to my friend's house acting crazy and saying some things I can't repeat here. I called the police and after they took him away, I left to stay at a hotel. My friend has been really supportive but I can't put her in danger. I hope this is the final update, but if anything else happens, is there a different sub I can post in? I feel like I'm deviating from AITA. Sorry if this isn't edited properly, I just can't with life today. Again, thanks for all the support. It truly means more to me than I can ever say. Comments. Commenter. Can his mommy put him in timeout? Reply. Ha ha ha. Update. AITA for sending my ex a book she used to love even though we're not on speaking terms. AITA for sending my ex a book she used to love even though we're not on speaking terms. Hey Reddit, I know the title sounds bad but hear me out. I 36M recently went through a breakup with my ex-fiancé 31F. It was over some tension between her and my mom. My mom made a few comments that I admit were out of line, but my ex blew it way out of proportion and ended things. She packed a bag, blocked me on everything, and hasn't spoken to me since. I've been giving her space, since for a few months. I haven't tried to call or show up anywhere. But recently I found a copy of this old book she loved, a really specific edition she talked about all the time but never managed to find. I saw it at a second-hand shop and just figured, why not grab it? I didn't think much of it. I wrote a short note inside, just something like, thought you might like this. No pressure, take care. I didn't sign it, but I figured she'd know it was from me. I mailed it to her apartment. That's it. Well, a day or two later, her best friend who still follows me texted saying I crossed a line, especially since she's apparently seeing someone new now. I didn't know that for sure, but whatever, it's not like I sent her a love letter. It was a book that she likes. I get that boundaries matter, and I wasn't trying to ignore hers. I literally just saw something I knew she used to care about and wanted to pass it along. I didn't ask to talk. I didn't even expect a response. So yeah, AIK. Comments. Commenter 1. YTA a big one and you still can't see it. I'm so baffled at the audacity. I'll break it down to you as clearly as possible. Some tension between her and my mom. It is not some tension. Your mom insulted your fiancé. It wasn't an out-of-line comment, it was full-blown insult, calling her not only the R word but also gold D. Which BTW is also not tension between two people, it is full-on unilateral disrespect from your mom to your ex-fiancé. Which also begs the question, did she continuously talk bad about her with you and your ex-fiancé not present? Because then, it would make the comment even worse. And newsflash, she didn't break up with you because of the tension between the two of them. She left you because you never had her back. She literally asked the bare minimum of you, to just ask your mom to not say disrespectful, hurtful things about her. My ex blew it out of proportion. You have received hundreds of comments from both her posts and yours that it was not blown out of proportion. We all know what your mom said. Yet, you still doubled down with thinking she overreacted for expecting respect from you and your mom, and then thinking she overreacted by distancing herself from people who do not respect her. I've been giving her space, yes, and you should continue to do so. I get that boundaries matter. You quite literally don't, because you never enforced a boundary with your mom to respect your ex-fiancé, so of course you also didn't respect her boundary of not wanting to hear from you again. Passing something she liked along, ignoring her boundary of not wanting to hear from you, so again, you quite literally don't get that boundaries matter. You could have tried reaching out through her friend first if you didn't want to ignore her boundary. But, alas, you could have stood up for her when her mother quite literally disrespected her. Reply, what does this have to do with anything though? Okay, I just sent her a book, not like I asked her to marry me. What's the big deal about that? Commenter 2, it matters because of the way you downplay what actually happened. You are giving a milder context to the I sent a book to her. Context matters, nuance matters. Your actions around her previous boundaries matter. If it was an amicable breakup, this entire I sent her a book would be different. Her reaction would have been different. The boundary is simply her not wanting you in her life. It doesn't matter if you sent her a book, a text, or a card. It has nothing to do with the content of your message. It's not like I asked her to marry me. Is irrelevant to the boundary. She doesn't want you to contact her for absolutely anything. I think the only exception would be to sincerely apologize, which I doubt you would, as you keep downplaying what happened, but even then you should only try to contact her friend first or simply ask her to pass on the message to her. And again, this just evidences even more you have zero clue what boundaries are. Update. After we broke up and my ex found out I was dating again, he sent tons of passive-aggressive gifts to me. He posted about one here, saying it was my favorite book. No, loving your spouse when you feel like walking away was not on my to-read list, actually. Anyways, here's what happened. About a month ago, I found out my ex has a new girlfriend. I was honestly relieved. I kinda thought maybe he'd finally leave me alone. Yeah, no. About a month ago, I started getting DMs from this one girl. Stuff like, you're pathetic, no wonder he's happier now, and he told me what you did to him. Obviously, I blocked her, but for every account I blocked there were two more ready to come at me. I eventually had to make my social media private. About 2 weeks later, I was out on a date when my ex and this new girlfriend just so happened to show up at the same place. He made a scene, loudly accusing me of stalking him. I was literally eating dinner in a public restaurant. His girlfriend filmed it and posted it on TikTok with some caption about that crazy ex me. Yes, me. I'm the crazy ex, guys. It blew up more than I ever expected. Not like millions of views, but enough that people I knew started sending me the video asking if it was me. Random strangers commented about how I'm a homewrecker, without even knowing the situation. I'm just so exhausted of everything. I want to move far away, and get out, but my job just doesn't allow for that. I'm really just so done with him. I'm in the process of getting a restraining order now. I know this isn't the update y'all probably wanted, sorry. Comments. Commenter 1. Well, now you can take the TikTok footage and all the texts and file a restraining order. Commenter 2. Please take your car to a mechanic and have them look for tracking devices. If you find one, you can take it to the police station and they can find out who put it there. It's time to look into stalking charges. Commenter 3. I know it doesn't feel like it, but ignoring them is the best revenge. I almost feel like this girl is not really his girlfriend, but just some chick he knows who is willing to help him try to bait you. Get the restraining order and never speak to them. It will bother them the most, and eventually, they will stop simply because they aren't being fed any drama. Stories number 14. Aita for not apologizing for withholding financial support until my son passed his paternity test. Throwaway account because outside of this I don't intend to make posts regularly and will go back to just reading. I 55M have 3 children. 2 girls and a boy. My son is my oldest and up until recently I thought he was a decent man. Unfortunately my daughter-in-law Tessa 32F, fake name showed me that I was wrong, and when revealed to me that the reason she was divorcing my son was because he cheated on multiple times and gave her an STD. She made a social media post with pictures of text messages and show video recordings of messages he left proving her side. I was shocked, and when I confronted my son he said that she over-exaggerating and that the only reason he did it was because she wasn't putting out. Tessa gave birth to their second child 7 months ago and their first child is 3 years old. I apologized to Tessa for my son's behavior and then yelled at him for being so selfish, intentionally hurtful, and cruel. I did not hide or downplay my disappointment and was only silenced by my wife's defense of our son. I remember how hard it was when my wife had our second daughter and couldn't believe she didn't have a shred of sympathy for Tessa. Tessa is a sweet and smart person and she didn't deserve what our son did. My wife has been letting our son stay in our house despite my wishes, saying that he needs our support, but I say he's in need of a hard lesson. We fought about this constantly. Eventually, my son accused Tessa of getting the STD from someone else and demanded a paternity test. I knew these claims were bullshit and saw red. I yelled at him for it and his mother came to his defense and told me a man had every right to know if his kids were his. I countered with demanding a test of my own and my wife was offended and I moved out. She and my son sent others after me and either lied and overplayed what things were like at home, and I just got tired defending myself. I was going to let things be until either my wife or son contacted my job and made hurtful accusations about a female employee that I've been mentoring for the past year, and that's when I snapped. I'm filing for divorce. The house is paid off so I'm willing to let her have it, but until a judge says so I've stopped putting money in any of the accounts that she has access to and only make payments to the credit card with the $4,000 limit so she has money to buy groceries, get gas, and pay for her other expenses. I've also changed my main beneficiaries to my daughters and told my son if he wanted a single cent of my money, he'd have to take a DNA test. He later did and he passed, and I responded with an email acknowledgement that he was my son as well as a copy of re-updated will where he will receive 10% of my assets. My wife and son are demanding a public apology, but I don't feel like they deserve it. Am I wrong? Edit to add, just to be clear since people seem to be skipping over it, but my wife called my job and accused one of my men of getting special treatment in exchange for special favors from me and other men in the company. She made such a big public stink that HR is investigating and my men is considering leaving due to the embarrassment and stress. Not to mention the damage to my own professional relationship. Commenter 1. NTA, but get your half of the house. Get a really good divorce lawyer. Commenter 2. Now that he's proven, he's your son, leave the money to his children. Stories number 15. Aita for refusing to give up my inheritance money to pay for my brother's wedding. I 27F lost my dad 2 years ago. It was the hardest thing I've ever been through. In his will, he left me a significant amount of money, around $30,000, with the note that it was specifically to help me get on my feet, build my future, and have stability. He didn't leave the same amount to my older brother 30M, because my dad always said my brother was reckless with money and never saved a dime. Fast forward to now, my brother is engaged, and his fiancé wants a huge, extravagant wedding. They don't have anywhere near enough money to cover it. Somehow, my family got it into their heads that I should step up and use my inheritance to fund their big day because Dad would have wanted the family together celebrating love. I said absolutely not. That money was my father's last gift to me. It's helping me pay down my student loans and put a down payment on a small house. I told them if they want a big wedding, they can either wait and save or scale back to something affordable. My brother and his fiancée blew up. She called me selfish, my brother said I was dishonoring Dad's memory, and my mom said, it's just money, but a wedding is once in a lifetime. Now half my extended family is on their side, saying I'm being greedy and tearing the family apart over dollars and cents. Here's the kicker. My brother has a history of blowing money on cars, gadgets, trips, and then asking everyone else to bail him out. I can't help but feel like if I gave in, I'd never see a penny of it back, and Dad knew exactly what he was doing by leaving the money with me and not with him. Still, I feel torn. I don't want to be the villain who ruined my brother's wedding, but I also don't think my future should be sacrificed for one day of partying. Aita for refusing to use my inheritance to pay for my brother's wedding. Commenter 1, NTA. That inheritance was specifically left to you for your stability and future. Your dad even acknowledged your brother's spending habits in his decision. Your family is trying to guilt you into throwing away the last gift your father gave you, and that's incredibly unfair. A wedding is one day, your future is decades. They can either scale back or wait until they can afford the wedding they want. It's not your job to bankroll it. Reply: that's exactly what I've been trying to say. My dad was very intentional when he divided things up, and I know he did it thinking about my future and the fact that my brother has always been reckless with money. It just feels so unfair that I'm being guilt-tripped for wanting to respect my dad's last wishes. And you're right, a wedding is one day, but I have to think about the decades ahead of me. Commenter 2, I hate to say it this way, but your brother likely already spent his portion of his inheritance through being bailed out so many times. You weren't a financial issue to your parents in the same way, so your dad may have basically rewarded you for not being the financial pain in the ass that your brother was. You both got money, he blew his recklessly, and now he's coming for yours. Do not give in. Besides, weddings are largely a waste of money for a big one-day party. If they can't afford the wedding they want, they either need to save until they have enough, pay using their own credit very unwise, or have the wedding they can afford now. The marriage after the wedding is what really matters anyway. Crowdfunding or family funding is weak and your brother should be ashamed for asking. Stories number 16. Aita for leaving one of my brother's kids out of a trip but taking the rest. I 35F live and work abroad but am from the Midwest. I grew up with my brother Jason 43M and our parents 70s. We were working class, had what we needed but not well off by any means. When I was in high school Jason married Tiffany 40F, who is and was and will always be a mess of a person, heavy drinker, partier, God knows whatever else, but she was hot and my brother is a dweeb to put it nicely. They had Jace 19M, Jeff 17M, and Hannah 12F. Their marriage broke down before Hannah was born. They tried working it out but ultimately got divorced. Jason started dating Jenny 43F while splitting custody of the kids with Tiffany 50-50. Since Tiff had been a SOM she received child support and alimony, and my brother worked a lot. I liked Jenny at first, she wasn't a complete smoke show like Tiff but she was kind, had a good job, and was well educated. I thought, much better match. At first, I know Jenny was upset that the kids didn't immediately love her and call her mom when they were there, and the divorce was hard on them. Got pregnant somewhat fast with Daisy 10F and they got married. Around this time, the older kid started refusing to go back to Tiff's, she was always drinking and having guys around, so all three moved in full-time with Jason and Jenny and Tiff left town and is no longer in the kids' lives. I tried being understanding, I'm sure having a newborn and then 3 older kids full-time is difficult. But Jenny completely changed. She stopped working, but declared she was only a SOM to her kid. Jason was working 70 hours to make ends meet and her parents were helping them out, but she controls the finances. This means that the 3 of them Jason, Jenny, and Daisy operate as a family unit, going to dinners, events, even vacations and leaving the older 3 kids at home. I have always thought this was disgusting and voiced my opinion about it, but Jason just said his divorce broke him emotionally and he will do anything possible to keep Jenny happy so that their marriage works out. Gross, yes. And 10 years ago to be frank I was younger, broker, and dumber so it was kind of more like, yes my brother fucking sucks as a dad but I live on another continent and all I can do is be supportive of the kids. I know, not a great attitude in retrospect and I'm disappointed in myself. I really did my best. When they refused to pay for Jace to learn how to drive even though Jenny refused to drive the kids anywhere, my mom taught him and I bought him a used car. We had to shame Jason to put him on his insurance, and he makes Jace pay for it. Same with Jeff, they share the car and use it for their activities and Hannah's. My wife and only child and we don't want children have the 3 of them as our sole beneficiaries in our will, something we did when we found out that Jenny and Jason planned to leave them only the bare minimum amount, everything goes to Daisy. Also, after we got married my wife 6 years ago and I decided that we would start taking the older kids on annual trips with us when we went to the US. Nothing fancy we might be child-free but we're not billionaires or anything, just well off, but things like a week in Florida, Utah, California, things like that. They're very outdoorsy kids so they've had a blast every year, and we plan it when my brother takes Jenny and Daisy on trips, so they don't care. Normally we vacation in the summer, but Jace got an internship this summer so we decided to move our trip to the fall and are going to Maine leaves. I let Jason know the dates they're in line with their fall breaks, no worries, and he basically said we need to start including Daisy. Jenny's parents made some bad investments, they're fine but aren't helping them out anymore, and Jenny is looking for a job, but since her parents had always paid for their trips they can't go on one this year. So, even if all was fair, I wouldn't want to take Daisy on a trip. This is going to shock you with parents like that, and I feel so bad saying this about a child, but Daisy is a huge brat, spoiled, mean, and constantly bragging about the things she gets that her siblings don't. She once told me they weren't her siblings, they were Tiffany's kids. She throws toddler-level tantrums on holidays if she doesn't get as much and more as the other kids, tells my wife and I we are going to hell edit. I now feel bad for including this. She said it about 5 years ago a few times, and when Jenny was told, it was about the only time I've ever seen her discipline Daisy. I guess she'd heard it from Jenny's aunt, but it was hurtful and hard to forget with everything else, and since Jenny waits on her hand and foot she's a total slob. I feel bad saying all this, I hope when she grows up she grows out of it. But there is no way I'd want to take her on a vacation. So I told him I didn't think we'd be able to handle all 4 kids and we'd just go the 5 of us. He said Jenny could come to help out. Absolutely not, or our mom could go love her, but she's getting a freaking hip replacement next month and does not want to go. Plus the car we'd need for all these people on a road trip would be stupid, we'd probably need 2, and you know what? I don't want to. Anyways, sorry for trauma dumping on you all, this is getting long. I was worried Jason would not let me take the other kids on the trip, but they decided to go the route of shaming us online. Obviously it's working with their friends and her family, but even my dad told me to stick to my guns. But, my wife came to me the other day and basically said, are we even better than Jenny if we're favoring some kids over another just because we don't like their mom? Before we were evening things out, but now we're obviously favoring the oldest. She told me to think of the long-term health of my family and our relationships. She said that it's my family, my decision, but wants me to think about it. My gut is saying just take the older 3, but Daisy is only 10, she's not to blame. Would it make me an evil aunt to leave her out? Update 1. Hey guys, I posted about a week ago and a lot of people asked for updates, but things have gotten yucky. A quick thing, Daisy is not constantly some Veruca Salt-esque monster child. She can be a brat, but she is also funny and caring. She's the only grandchild who has stuck with the church choir that my mom runs, even though I don't think she loves it, always calls my wife and I on our birthdays, and when their dog was too old to go upstairs she brought her mattress downstairs and slept next to her every night before she passed away so she wouldn't be lonely. People aren't cartoon villains, and please stop attacking a 10-year-old. Sorry I didn't reply to direct messages, I don't feel comfortable doing that. I don't know if that account people were messaging me was Jenny's, and honestly it wouldn't change anything. I did change some small things for anonymity, and it would be a shame if there more than one person out there like her. Finally, just a reminder that I live half the world a 15-hour min plane ride away. I can't just pop over, and there are time zone issues. I also do well for myself but don't have unlimited money. So stop telling me to take Daisy on trial trips and buy a 4-bedroom house for the oldest 3 to live in, lol. And keep in mind, I live in remote, mostly rural areas, not bustling metropolises with vibrant expat communities and international schools. It's the nature of my job, I've worked hard for it, and it's not conducive to having kids/young adults living with me. I'm not a messy person and I don't do social media drama, so I've been ignoring Jenny and Jason's little vague booking campaign. And honestly I wasn't even going to update until I got some background information, but basically I got a call from my brother last weekend and it was Daisy crying and telling me she would be good and she's sorry for being bad and she wants to go on the trip and promising she'll be quiet and not say anything rude. It was dark, she was saying she was going to find a way to show me and my wife and her parents she was good and not a bad person and everything would be okay. I tried calming her down, I assured her that both her aunts love her very much and don't think she is a bad person at all. My brother took the phone and was just like, see what you've done, and hung up. I tried calling back, he didn't answer. I texted my mom as well as Jace and Jeff to see what was going on. And of course I wake up and there's a post about how cruel people can be to innocent children. Anyways, between my mom and Jeff I got some more background info. I don't know where all their money goes or what kind of bath her parents took, but their financial situation is bad. As in asking my fixed/low income parents for money for Daisy's tuition bad. Obviously they couldn't help them, and I guess Jenny and my brother had told Daisy she was going to have to pick between vacation and her school, and she picked her school, but since it's taken Jenny longer than they expected to find a job they can no longer swing that either. I know you all think she's a little demon, but my heart broke for her with that. And yes, I am not getting into it all rage for too long, but yes, the older three have always gone to public school. I do think it was Jenny's parents paying the tuition, though, and according to Jeff, Daisy is getting older and having more of her own opinions and Jenny doesn't like that. When she found out she couldn't go back to her school, she asked about a trip, and when my brother told Jenny I'd said no, she told Daisy she couldn't go because she was bad. Heartbreaking, and just generally a parenting all around. I don't think this is the end of all of this. Jeff needs to be more discreet but told me Jenny was losing it because of Botox and Ozempic withdrawal. He did say the house wasn't as bad as you'd think, she mostly ignores them and has continued that. He works and Hannah has spent most the summer at her best friend's house. Also, one quick thing, I know everyone is worried about my nephews and niece and think they live horrible, miserable lives, and this vacation is the only bright spot of the year. Yes, their lives are completely unfair and I feel awfully for them, but they are happy kids. From what Jace has told me, since she had Daisy they've always kind of just treated Jenny like an eccentric roommate that their dweeb of a dad is sleeping with. They're not all rude and screaming at one another, more polite indifference. They also do care a lot about Daisy, and would never ask me to leave her at home. It's me that doesn't want to bring her, because she needs a parent with her, and as Drill would say, I would face God and walk backwards into hell before I ever invited, much less paid for, Jenny to come with us. Update, Aita for leaving one of my brother's kids out of a trip but taking the rest. Hey everyone. I don't know why I'm updating with this, but things have gotten pretty nuts. I wasn't even going to update until after the trip, which is still a go with just the 5 of us and will stay that way, but it's just a full-on circus now. Unfortunately, my brother and Jenny have not changed one bit, and there have been multiple instances since my last post alone that they have shown their preference to Daisy over the other 3. I said before I don't do social media drama. Or drama in general, but especially in public. So I have been ignoring Jenny's little vague booking campaign, but like I said, she had family and friends supporting her on it. Except one cousin, who messaged me a few days ago and asked for a call. I reminded her, and just reminding you all before you start asking me why I don't do short trips with Daisy. That I live very far away in a different time zone, so we set up a time to FaceTime. Honestly, I kind of remember this woman, but not really. She and Jenny aren't close, but she was at some pre-baby events. And it turns out Jenny and Jason have been lying to my family about their money issues. Jenny's parents, she's an only child, have not gone broke. In fact, they're doing fine. They are one of the few older people who weren't sucked into Facebook, by the way, lucky for her, while my mom is sharing slop with me on the daily, but I still love her. They cut Jenny off. She's simply been lying to everyone, including my parents. And saying that her parents wish they could still help but they can't. They told her months ago the money stream was over. Why now? So the story goes that a few years back, Jenny complained to my mom that she had a 16-year sentence with Tiffany's kids, and even the boys leaving at 18 wouldn't matter since Hannah was only a few years older than Daisy. My mom apparently said something along the lines of, anyone would be lucky to have Hannah in the house, if she's affecting your marriage so much she can live with us. It was kind of a snarky comment from mom, but apparently Jenny held on to it like a prayer. When my oldest nephew Jace graduated from high school last year, he was told he couldn't keep living there, and they've already told my middle nephew Jeff the same. Jenny's parents very rarely see the older kids since Jason and Jenny don't bring them when they visit, and her parents don't travel much and don't like coming to my hometown. So according to the cousin, they weren't fully aware of the issues, and were under the assumption that the older 3 preferred spending the time that my brother and his second wife and daughter visit them with my parents, which they respected. But apparently Jenny basically had been yapping to them and let it slip out how in just over a year she'd have her life back and her stepkids would be out of the house. Her parents asked, what about Hannah? And she told them that my parents want to raise Hannah because they know how it's affecting her marriage. That didn't sit right with Jenny's mom, call her Pam, so she called my mom after they left. They aren't close or anything but do talk every now and again. My mom was so confused by what she was saying. They are on a fixed income and have only a 2-bedroom place now. Of course, if they needed to, the kids could stay with them, but it's not ideal. So, and remember, this is months ago. Pam thought maybe she misheard, but my mom let it slip that Jace already stays with them when he comes back from school, and Pam was confused about why he wouldn't stay at my brother's. When my mom told her they kicked him out, Pam was like, oh wow, that's crazy, and the conversation ended to my mom. But apparently this is all hearsay. Obviously Pam called Jenny up and told her, how dare you take our money at your age while telling an 18-year-old they're an adult and to figure it out. I don't know how the call went, but it ended with Pam and her husband completely cutting Jenny and Jason off financially. Her cousin said they were sending them tens of thousands of dollars a year, and get this, they truly didn't know about the inequality. I didn't believe the cousin at this, how could they not know? She says that while her parents love her, Jenny is not close with them and had basically lied, saying that my parents who again have never had a lot of money and are now on a fixed income and I were spoiling the oldest three and ignoring Daisy. Even before I was taking them on trips, she'd make up vacations they were on for why they couldn't go on trips with them. Jenny told them I was paying for them to attend the private school that Daisy was attending. When Pam did some digging and found out Jace did not graduate from that private school, she cut off paying tuition for it. She was going to continue that. Apparently she refuses to take her daughter's calls, and is refusing to listen to family members defending Jenny. These family members supporting her, a few aunts and their kids already have beef with Pam over money, and they are supporting Jenny. So, I know she had talked to my mom, but I had to ask if Pam even knows the half of all of it. I told the cousin a few things, and she seemed shocked, and asked if Pam could call me. I told her definitely, and the next day she did. We've spoken before obviously, but she's a pretty introverted woman, so I wasn't sure what to expect. But she just seemed exhausted. She acknowledged that Jenny was the result of her parenting failures, but says she was always a difficult child. I was like, girl, she's over 40, childhood has been over. She laughed at that and apologized about everything I've had to do for my oldest nibblings. I assured her that I wanted to do things for them, but I appreciate the apology. She said she will be setting the record straight with her family members. Unfortunately for them, Jenny and Jason's little, nuclear family life they've been LARPing for the last few years is over. Her parents will no longer be funding them. Jenny has gotten a job, but a decade out of the workforce really screwed her over. I feel bad for Daisy, but hopefully things will have to be more equal over there. Obviously this isn't over, and my parents and I are going to be keeping a close eye on everything and open communication with the kids, but I can't say I feel bad for Jenny and Jason. Relevant comments. OOP on the possibilities of her nephews and niece going NC with their father, Jason, after they become 18. Reply, yup. I used to tell him, you either raise your kids or you'll be raising your grandkids, and at this point I'm pretty sure for homeboy it'll be neither because there'll be no contact. Commenter 1, if she treated them bad before it will be way worse now. She will blame them for money train stopping. She won't buy clothes etc. for them or school needs. She even sounds like the kind of see you next Tuesday that would partially starve the kids. Like you eat at school, that's all you need. Reply, they know they can always reach out to me or my parents if anything gets like that, they're not afraid of her or anything. We'll make sure they are taken care of, but I can definitely see her spending what money they have on Daisy and making the others get hand-me-down or Walmart clothes. Commenter 2, even though Daisy is just a child, I struggle to empathize with her and her circumstances. On the other hand, I have deep pity for the older children who are neglected and treated as if they are worthless. I wish for a special place in hell for Jenny, your brother, and all those who have supported their actions, as this situation is truly appalling and unsettling. It's even more unsettling to hear that nobody tried to advocate for those poor children. Reply, I mean I feel bad for Daisy, none of this is her fault, but she was getting the benefits and those are now gone. She's only 10, hopefully she can overcome this. Commenter 3, NTA. Be wary that, with the reduction in income in your brother's house, and the fact that this happened because of the treatment she gives your nibblings, she won't mistreat the ones that are still living there even more, or neglect them on purpose, taking resources away from them to fund her lifestyle. She sounds like she is totally capable of blaming this on the kids and starting to financially abuse them in order to get back what she feels they took. It would be so ideal if your nibblings could just live with you or their grandparents. With how much your devilish SAL hates them and how little your brother cares, can't she just send the younger ones to live with you or their grandparents? I know not everyone can take children in. But struggling with you would hurt them less than being actively neglected daily. Why doesn't he just let any of you take custody, or at least send them to live with you while having custody of them on paper? Reply, my parents have a 2BD, are on a fixed income, so they cannot take the kids. I'm sure if they could they would. That being said, my mom is there in person and has already said it won't take much for her to make a call to Children's Services if she sees anything negligent. She's tried before and none of it was criminal, but I also agree it could get worse now. OOP on locking down the credit cards, especially with Jace, the oldest. Reply, yup. I have walked Jace through how to lock his credit and he's going to see what he can do about the minors. One of the first things I did. Commenter 4, absolutely NTA, this might even be good for Daisy in a you'll thank me later kind of way, if she ever develops a sense of self-awareness or compassion for others. Children that are spoiled and favored grow up to be the worst, most entitled people ever, and Daisy is literally a Karen in training the way things are going for her. Also, if I were me, I wouldn't wait till Hannah is 18 to cut Jenny and Jason out of your life. If you're in the US, Hannah can get emancipated at 16 and move out of there, which might be necessary at that point cause Daisy is 100% going to be her bully if she isn't already. Best of luck to you. Reply, the sad thing is, I think Jason knows that the second Hannah turns 18 he's going to be alone with Jenny and Daisy. Again, we love Daisy, but Mom and I are in agreement that being able to see her isn't worth having her parents in our lives. It's very likely we don't see her again, but it will be worth it to not have to ever be in the same room as her parents. The worst part is that if they had just been good people, they would have great lives and I'd be willing to split everything 4 ways instead of 3. Oh well. It's a shame for Daisy, but after all of this I can't be bothered to care. Of course I'll always be there for her if she needs me, but her parents are so nasty and after everything, my mom and I have agreed we need to focus on the older 3. She's done helping Jenny. Stories number 17. Aita for denying my future in-laws their only request for my wedding, and apparently ruining the entire relationship. So I, Jessica, 23F, am engaged to Michael, 27M, and we're set to get married this December. We got engaged in April, and let me just say, I was that girl. I had been planning my wedding in Pinterest board since high school, so once the ring was on my finger, I hit the ground running. My mom Karen and I basically planned 90% of the wedding in the first few weeks. One of the first things we decided, and locked in early, was the bridal party and the roles for kids. My sister Rachel, 28F, is my matron of honor, and she has a baby girl, Lily, who will be about a year old at the wedding. She's going to be my flower girl, pushed in a stroller by my cousin Hannah, 10F, who's a junior bridesmaid. For ring bearers, Michael really wanted his best friend's son Noah, 1.5M. But because custody arrangements are tricky, we didn't want all the pressure on that, so we also asked my cousins Jacob, 7M, and Ethan, 5M, to be ring bearers too. The plan: the older boys would walk the little one down the aisle. Everyone was excited, and it felt perfect. Enter Michael's family. Michael's younger brother Tyler, 24M, lives across the country. Around 4 months ago, he told us about his new girlfriend Brittany, 21F. She has a 10-month-old baby girl, Ava, from a previous relationship. Tyler is already playing stepdad and apparently talking long-term. We were happy for him, truly. We've never met Brittany or Ava, but of course they're invited to the wedding. Here's where the drama begins. Michael's mom, Susan Mil, is usually an angel. Seriously, she's been like a second mom to me. She's always encouraged me to make this wedding mine, and she's been supportive and kind. She's the type who bakes you casseroles when you're stressed and cries at every life milestone. But a couple of weeks ago, Susan and I were hanging out, and she casually asked if we'd consider adding Ava as another flower girl. I kind of laughed it off, saying we already had Lily and Hannah in their roles, but she pushed a little. What's one more? She'll be walking by then. I told her I'd talk to Michael. Later that night, I explained it to him, and we were both on the same page. It didn't make sense. We'd never met Ava or Brittany. It would be awkward having 2 babies toddling down the aisle with completely different setups. If Ava needed help walking, Hannah couldn't juggle 2 kids. And, bluntly, if Tyler and Brittany break up, we'll have photos forever with a random child we aren't even related to. Michael agreed, and he told Tyler no gently. Tyler was disappointed, but seemed to understand. Case closed, right? Wrong. A week later, we're at Susan's house for dinner. She brings it up again. Michael politely but firmly repeats, we already have a flower girl. Susan's face falls, and she says, but it means so much to your brother. He keeps talking about it. Cue Michael softening, because he's a peacemaker. He starts hesitating, saying maybe it could work. Suddenly, I'm the only one holding the line. I calmly list the reasons again, and Susan fires back with rebuttals. All the kids are from Jessica's side except one. Why can't we balance it out? What's the harm in one more? Tyler and Brittany will get married anyway, so Ava's basically family. I felt cornered. I finally said, we'll think about it. Susan smirked like she won, and I went home ready to cry. That night, Michael apologized to me. He admitted he wavered under his mom's pressure but still agreed with me that Ava shouldn't be in the wedding. He called Tyler again and said, sorry, but it's a no. The next morning, Tyler calls back furious. He says, Mom told me you wanted Ava in the wedding but Jessica didn't. Why does she get the final say? Michael was stunned. Susan had completely thrown me under the bus. From there, things spiraled. Tyler insisted we were being unfair. Susan called Michael for an hour-long lecture about destroying family unity, and she actually said, "Your relationship with us will never recover from this." Over a flower girl role. Tyler then announced he didn't want to be Michael's best man anymore unless we gave in. He also texted us that he and Brittany won't speak to us until we change our minds. Michael's sister Megan 25F is caught in the middle, saying the whole thing is insane. Even Michael's dad David, who's divorced from Susan, pulled us aside and said, "I think Susan is babying Tyler again. This isn't about you." And here's where it got extra ugly. Susan started telling people I was racist for not wanting Ava in the wedding. Brittany and Ava are Filipino, something I honestly didn't even know until this point because we'd never met them. Tyler, meanwhile, was telling extended family that we were judging Brittany for being a single mom and that I didn't want Ava because she was born out of wedlock. None of that was true. Now half the family thinks I'm some evil bridezilla, when all I did was stick to the wedding plan Michael and I made together. Eventually, I cut out the middleman and DM'd Brittany directly. I explained the whole situation politely, cleared up the lies, and told her we were excited to meet her and Ava at the wedding. She was actually very sweet and mature. She said she understood and was looking forward to attending. So at least that part smoothed over. But Tyler? He doubled down. After his breakup with Brittany, yes, they broke up for a few weeks because she said his family was too toxic. He blamed me and Michael for everything. He even said I should have personally begged him to stay in the wedding party. Michael stood up for me, hard. He told Tyler that this wedding is ours, not his, and that if Tyler can't respect that, then maybe he doesn't belong in the wedding party at all. As of now, Tyler's not the best man anymore. Michael asked a close friend instead, and Susan has given us one of those fake apologies like, "I'm sorry you feel hurt. We're cordial, but I don't trust her anymore." The kicker. Brittany and Tyler got back together, and Susan immediately made a Facebook profile picture of just the three of them. No Michael, no us, no wedding talk. Just Tyler, Brittany, and Ava, like her golden family. So yeah. I went from having a perfect relationship with my in-laws to being public enemy number one because I didn't want to add a baby we've never met as a flower girl. Am I really the asshole here? Update 1, the flower girl fallout gets worse. Hi everyone, thanks for all the comments on my original post. Didn't think so many people would care about my flower girl drama. I've been reading through them with Michael, and honestly, the outside perspective has been a lifesaver. I wanted to give an update because things have gotten a lot messier. So after I posted, I thought maybe things would cool down with Michael's family. I mean, it's one day, right? Surely they'd move on. But instead, they doubled down. 1. Tyler completely dropped out of the wedding. He sent Michael a long, nasty text saying he won't stand up for a brother who won't stand up for family. He also said I was controlling and keeping Michael away from his blood. Then he blocked both of us on everything. Like, actually blocked us. Over a flower girl. 2. Susan MIL has gone full martyr. She's been telling every relative that I humiliated her and refused the only thing she ever asked for. At first, it was annoying but manageable, until she started posting about it on Facebook. I'm not exaggerating, she made a status that literally said, "Imagine a woman telling you that your granddaughter isn't worthy to walk down the aisle because she doesn't have the right last name." Of course, her friends all chimed in with "That's disgusting and what kind of bride treats family like that," and she just sat there liking every comment. 3. The racist accusations. This one hurts the most. Susan is still spinning the narrative that I excluded Ava because she's half Filipino. I can't even wrap my head around it. We didn't even know Ava's ethnicity until Susan brought it up, and Michael has told his mom multiple times that's not what this is about. But she won't let it go. She's poisoning the well with people I've never even met. 4. Reaching out to Brittany. I finally decided to reach out to Brittany, the girlfriend/mom of Ava, directly again because it felt gross having her hear secondhand lies. Honestly, she's been a breath of fresh air. She told me she knows Susan exaggerates and that she doesn't think I'm racist at all. She even said she was relieved Ava wasn't in the wedding because she didn't want her baby to be forced into a spotlight role anyway. She admitted Susan was pushing harder than Tyler even was. But here's the kicker, apparently Susan had told Brittany I personally called her baby a random child we don't want in our photos. I never, ever said that. Brittany believed me when I showed her the actual messages between me and Susan. She seemed pissed, actually, that Susan was dragging her daughter into drama like this. 5. The new wedding chaos. With Tyler officially out as best man, Michael asked his college friend Mark to step in. Mark was honored, no drama there. But Susan's reaction? She sent Michael a text that said, "So you replaced your brother with a stranger. I hope you can live with that. A stranger." About his literal best friend since sophomore year of college. 6. Family lines are being drawn. Michael's dad David has actually been supportive. He called Susan out, saying she's making this wedding about Tyler instead of her oldest son. Megan, my fiancé's sister, has also been in our corner, saying Susan is acting ridiculous. But other relatives? It's split. Some think I'm being rigid and mean, others think Susan is stirring the pot. At this point, it feels like a civil war. How I feel right now, honestly? Exhausted. This is supposed to be a happy time, and instead I feel like I'm constantly defending myself from attacks. I've cried more over this than anything else wedding related. I keep wondering if I should have just said yes in the first place to avoid all this chaos. But then I remind myself, Michael and I made this decision together. It's our wedding, not Susan's, not Tyler's. Giving in would have set a precedent that every demand they make in the future, I'd have to fold. Michael's been amazing. He's been firm with his mom and brother, even though it breaks his heart. He told me the other night, "I'd rather have no best man than give in to manipulation." That made me cry again, but the good kind. So yeah, that's where things stand. Tyler's out, Susan's furious, Brittany's quietly on my side, and Michael and I are just trying to focus on planning the wedding we want. Update 2, the rehearsal dinner meltdown. Hi again everyone, OP here with another update because, of course, things got even more dramatic. I thought after my last post that maybe Susan and Tyler would cool down. Nope. If anything, they turned the dial to 11. 1. The rehearsal dinner disaster. We had our rehearsal dinner last weekend, and I was honestly dreading it because Susan had been giving us the silent treatment. I thought maybe she'd just sulk quietly. Instead, she decided to make a scene. Halfway through dinner, she stood up and clinked her glass like she was about to give a toast. Everyone went quiet. Then she goes, "I just want to say how disappointed I am that my granddaughter Ava is not part of this wedding. Families should be included, not excluded. But I guess some people don't believe in that." Y'all, the silence in that room could have cracked glass. Michael immediately stood up and told her, "Mom, sit down. We are not doing this here." She actually tried to keep going, but David Fil literally took her arm and made her sit. I was shaking the entire time. Afterward, Megan Sal came up and whispered, "I am so sorry for her. She's embarrassing herself. At least someone had my back." 2. Tyler tries to crash. Remember how Tyler said he was done and wasn't coming? Well, he showed up. Yep. He wasn't invited, but he showed up at the rehearsal dinner anyway. He walked straight up to Michael and loudly said, "I can't believe you're choosing her over me." Michael told him flat out, "You weren't invited, Tyler. Leave." Tyler refused, so Mark, new best man, and a couple of Michael's cousins literally escorted him out. Tyler was screaming about how he just wanted to be part of his brother's day. It was humiliating. But also, kind of satisfying that other people saw how unhinged he was. 3. Brittany steps in again. After the dinner, Brittany texted me. Apparently Tyler went home ranting to her about how we humiliated him, and she's fed up. She told me she's officially not coming to the wedding either, not because of me, but because she doesn't want to deal with Susan or Tyler's tantrums dragging Ava into more drama. She actually thanked me again for not putting Ava in the wedding. She said, "At least you respect that she's a child and not a pawn." That honestly made me tear up. 4. The family split is now public. Susan has now turned this into an all-out campaign. She's still posting cryptic Facebook statuses like, "Some people don't value family anymore." Sad. She even made one that said, "When your son lets a woman ruin his bond with his brother, you know the marriage is doomed." Friends of hers keep chiming in with that "poor child Ava" comments, and Michael and I have both been blocked by multiple relatives who are apparently taking Susan's side. The silver lining? The people who actually matter, my family, our close friends, SIL, and a good chunk of Michael's cousins are still solidly with us. 5. Where we're at now. We've had to make some tough calls. Michael told Susan if she pulls anything at the actual ceremony, like standing up, yelling, or trying to speak her truth again, she will be escorted out, no second chances. David and Megan are both on board to help enforce this. Michael also told Tyler point blank that if he tries to crash the wedding, security will be called. We weren't going to hire security for our tiny wedding, but at this point we might. It breaks my heart that this is what it's come to. Instead of being excited for the wedding, I feel like I'm preparing for battle. But at least Michael and I are 100% united. He told me, this is our family we're starting. Not theirs. And I won't let anyone ruin it. That's been my lifeline. I don't know how the actual wedding will play out yet, but given how unhinged Susan and Tyler have been, I wouldn't be surprised if I end up here again with a wedding day horror story. For now, we're just focusing on protecting our peace and enjoying the people who are truly happy for us. Final update, the wedding day showdown. Hey Reddit, OP here one last time. I promised an update after the wedding, and oh boy, it did not disappoint. Buckle up. 1. The ceremony drama. The day started beautifully. The weather was perfect, my dress was everything I dreamed of, and Ava my niece was there as a guest with Brittany, looking adorable in her little floral dress. I was honestly holding my breath waiting for Susan or Tyler to do something, but the ceremony began without a hitch. Then, right as the officiant asked if anyone had any objections, Susan actually stood up. She started with, "I just want to say," and Michael immediately cut her off, loud and clear. "Sit down, Mom. This is not your moment." The officiant froze, everyone turned to look, and Susan actually tried to keep going. David Fael grabbed her arm and said, "Enough. Sit down or leave." She sat, red-faced and muttering. The ceremony continued, and we got through our vows without further interruption. But let me tell you, every single person there was buzzing about it after. 2. Tyler the wedding crasher. I wish I were joking, but Tyler really tried it. Midway through the reception, while we were doing our first dance, guess who walked in through the side door? Yep. Tyler. He wasn't invited. Michael had already warned him not to show up. But there he was, drunk, in jeans and a wrinkled button-down, yelling, "That's my brother." Security yep, we ended up hiring 2 guys last minute immediately intercepted him. He tried to push past them, screaming about how I stole his family. They escorted him right back out, and he was gone within 5 minutes. Honestly, it was more sad than anything. People just shook their heads and went back to dancing. 3. Susan's last stand. I thought maybe Susan would simmer down after being embarrassed at the ceremony. Nope. At the reception she cornered me near the dessert table and hissed, "You've destroyed this family. Michael will regret choosing you." I was done at that point. I calmly told her, "You've made your feelings very clear. But today isn't about you, and if you can't keep it together, you should leave." Michael overheard and jumped in, "Mom, you've crossed every line. If you can't treat my wife with respect, you are not welcome in our lives." David stepped in again, took Susan by the arm, and actually drove her home early. 4. The aftermath. Despite all that chaos, the wedding itself was amazing. Once Susan and Tyler were gone, the night was full of laughter, dancing, and joy. Ava danced with my 6-year-old son, and it was honestly one of the sweetest moments of the night. Since the wedding, Susan has doubled down on her Facebook rants. She's now saying she was silenced and that Michael is brainwashed. A few distant relatives are siding with her, but the vast majority of people saw her behavior firsthand and are telling her to knock it off. As for Tyler, Brittany has apparently put him on thin ice. She texted me afterwards saying, "I'm sorry for what he did. He embarrassed all of us. I don't know how much longer I can keep doing this." I really feel for her. Michael and I have agreed that until Susan and Tyler get serious about apologizing and respecting boundaries, they're going to be on an information diet. They won't know where we are, what we're doing, or be included in anything major. We're focusing on our marriage and our kids, the people who actually matter. TLDR final. My MIL Susan and BL Tyler lost their minds over me not letting my daughter be treated like a practice child for Susan and my brother's fiancé. Susan tried to hijack our rehearsal dinner, Tyler crashed it, Susan stood up during our vows, and Tyler even tried to crash the wedding drunk. Both were removed. SIL, and most of the family supported us. Michael and I are now going low contact with Susan and Tyler until they can respect boundaries. The wedding was still beautiful, and we're starting our marriage strong. Stories number 18. My 34F husband 34M screamed at our daughter just for singing Golden. How do I get him to realize it's not okay? I met my husband 12 years ago and have been married for 7 years. He's generally a sweet and kind-hearted person and is usually fun to be around. We have a 6-year-old daughter who's also terrific. Lately, her favorite film is K-pop Demon Hunters and absolutely loves singing the songs, especially Your Idol and Golden. She memorized all the lyrics. I know her constantly singing it can be a bit annoying, but I used to drive my parents crazy singing songs from The Lion King, so I didn't mind too much. My husband however hated that film, and I tried to encourage her to sing only when he's not around. Yesterday though, once she sung Golden, he flipped out and screamed at her and warned her not to sing anything from Demon Hunters anymore. I tried to calm him down, but he accuses me of lying to myself and says I secretly wanted it to stop and that he's the brave one enough to do something about it. As a result of his screaming, she won't talk to him. How do I get him to realize that it's not okay to scream and to apologize? Commenter 1. Have you spoken to your daughter after this? You just mentioned calming him down, so, how bad was he really acting that you had to jump in there immediately? How loud was he? What did he actually say? Where was your child in all of this? You also said you tried to encourage her not to sing around him, so, is this current behavior new or it's an escalation? Did you on some level know he would eventually snap and be aggressive? Look, I find kids constantly talking and singing fucking annoying, which is why I don't have kids. Your husband is the adult, the fucking parent. He's not brave for screaming at his child, for being so into his own anger that you had to try and soothe him. But, if this is just kind of normal behavior and attitude from him, you got much bigger fish to fry, and much to examine and really reflect on, because your daughter is the one who will suffer the most from both of you guys' behavior and actions. Commenter 2. I'm glad he's super proud of being brave enough to check notes shout at a 6-year-old. Commenter 3. I don't blame your daughter for not wanting to talk to him. She will remember this forever. Edit, my first award. Thank you, kind stranger. Stories number 19. Aita for picking out the peas for my dinner in front of my mum's boss. I'm 20 and I live with my mum 48 in the UK. Mum hosted a mini dinner for some colleagues. Her husband has a big house and a garden where we sat. I don't like dinners and eating with strangers, but I had to sit with them, which was a little bit stupid. They made food I don't like. It had peas in it and I don't like peas. My mum knows this, but I wasn't allowed to eat other stuff because it would be making a fuss and there was no time to make other things. I was not allowed to make something myself either. I picked out the peas for my dinner to feed to ducks at the pond close to my stepdad's house because I know ducks like peas. They shouldn't eat bread because that's bad for them. I put all the peas in a little cup with my spoon. Mum's boss was sitting opposite of me and asked what I was doing, so I told him. He was silent for a while and then said okay. We didn't talk a lot, but sometimes he asked me a question and I answered. At the end he gave me some more peas that he had removed from his own food. I asked if he also didn't like peas and he said, I do like peas, but I also like ducks, so they can have my peas, which I think was nice of him. He also gave me £5 to buy ice cream for myself when I feed the ducks, which was also very nice of him. We didn't talk much, but I think he was a nice man and I liked him. But when he left he talked to my mum and she came to me and she was angry or upset. She asked me if I spent all dinner picking out peas and I said no. I also ate the pasta bits, but there were a lot of peas to pick out. She asked why I did that in front of everyone because that's very rude to do during a dinner. It shows you do not like the food and are not interested in the guest. This is exactly what I thought, so that's true. Mum said that she understands that it's not nice. But if she says it's important like she did before dinner, then it really is important and I should keep that in mind. They were people who deserve respect and who feel put off by others touching their food strangely or not engaging with them. Mum's boss told her before he left that maybe next time I should eat something else because I didn't eat much. I'm not a big eater, so it's kind of normal for me, but he doesn't know that, of course. But the point is that he said something negative to her that could have been avoided if I didn't pick the peas out of my food. I didn't think about this. I understand that that is not a good thing, but my mum was genuinely upset and I think that is a little bit much. It's just a dinner and he was a nice man. I don't think he's angry at her. I was just wondering if I'm not seeing something important here that makes it an thing to do. Aita. Thank you. Edit. I'm autistic and don't like peas because of the texture that makes me feel bad. I'm dependent on my mom because I'm not able to live on my own yet, but I'm learning. I didn't realize that could change the context of the story until it was pointed out to me. Thank you for your insights so far. Some of the comments. I think he was a very nice man, and thinking back now I appreciate his behavior. It's too bad I didn't say that to him. I hope his comment to my mum was indeed meant in a gentle way. Maybe my mum was just stressed after hosting. She's usually okay with how I eat. I believe my mum was stressed because she likes her work and wanted to make a good impression. I think you're also right, and she didn't want to make a fuss about me because I don't like it when people ask me questions about myself out of nowhere. She's usually quite considerate, but sometimes she just gets frustrated. I hope to talk to my mum tomorrow after my morning routine. Thank you. Somebody votes YTA because OOP made their mom look bad in front of their boss. Thank you for your insight. I didn't realize that out of the office it would still be a big thing. I thought he was more of a work friend because he was there for dinner, but you have a good point. I forgot to put this in the post, but I still ate one bite because we have a one-bite rule when we have guests over. I don't know if her boss saw that. I put the peas with other food, but I could still taste it and it made me feel bad, so I decided to save them for the ducks so they wouldn't be wasted in the trash. I do hear that I'm like a child a lot, and maybe that's because I'm autistic. In my eyes I had done enough to try, but the food was not nice, so I didn't continue. But I can understand now that with her boss I should have approached it differently. I'm not sure if I was being obvious. I didn't announce it or complain out loud and first ate everything I could eat before picking out the remaining peas and storing them in a paper cup so I can easily take the peas to the pond with me. I just kept to myself, but Mum's boss was sitting opposite of me, so he noticed. I'm unsure if others also noticed. I'm not allowed to live on my own because I'm still learning how to take care of myself, and I'm on the waiting list for assisted living. I'm autistic. I thought saving the peas would be more useful, so they wouldn't go to waste if I'd throw them out later. I didn't realize we had to impress Mum's boss, but it makes sense now. Update. Mum was very stressed because she never hosts dinners. She wanted her colleagues to like it. They requested the recipe. She forgot I don't eat peas because she was too busy with her colleagues. She wanted me to eat with them because at her colleagues' house his kids also ate with them. She didn't want to make a fuss about my autism because sometimes I'm rude when people ask about it. She said her head was all over the place all evening. I said to her that that's why I could have made my own food. She said that was difficult because there was no time for that. I didn't realize because I'm not good with time awareness. I asked her to communicate with me next time and be more clear about what I can or can't do. She said she will and said I can help cook next time too. Almost every comment said that her boss was nice. He probably wasn't angry or upset with her. I told this to my mom. She said sorry to me again because she wasn't upset at me at all. She was embarrassed because she tried to get me to behave normally, and she shouldn't have done that. She took it out on me on a whim. I also said sorry because I didn't realize that it could have been important for her work status. I just thought they were like friends. She said it was okay because I didn't make a big fuss and I didn't get loud or walk away. She's proud of me for staying at the table and also thinking about the ducks. We concluded that we both learned things. I learned things because I now know more about work dinners and manners. She learned things because she now knows to communicate and explain more to me to avoid stress. In the comments people also said her boss might have experience with autistic people. I asked my mom and it was a little bit sad. His little brother was autistic but he died 10 years ago. It made him sad because he loved him a lot. He told her I should eat things I like next time because it upset him to think Mom was worried about appearances so much that I had to be uncomfortable during dinner. He also said that dinner was really good and that he's happy to have her in his team at work. He's a good person and a good boss. I sent him a thank you email with my mom. Last thing is that I fed the ducks the peas. I think they were happy about it. The thing with ducks is that they don't say that to you, of course. I got an ice cream with 2 scoops at the pond. I also got one for my mom because I had money left. It was a little bit melted when I came home because it was 5 minutes walking, but she still liked it and she said I was amazing. Thank you for reading. Stories number 20. Brother refuses to leave after temporary stay and calls me greedy for asking rent. My younger brother asked if he could stay with us for a few weeks after breaking up with his girlfriend. My husband and I agreed since we had the extra room and figured it would only be temporary. It has now been almost 3 months. He has not contributed a single cent to groceries, utilities, or even toilet paper. Anytime I bring up rent, he insists that family does not charge family and that I should be glad to help him out until he is back on his feet. The problem is he is not even trying. He works part-time, spends most of his paycheck on gaming and eating out, and has made no effort to save. He uses our Wi-Fi all day, leaves messes in the kitchen, and even told my husband to chill when asked to wash his own dishes. I finally told him last week that he needed to start paying $200 a month for rent and utilities, which is far less than he would pay anywhere else. He blew up, called me greedy and heartless, and told our mom, who immediately called me to say I should be ashamed for turning my back on family. Now my brother sulks around the house, making passive-aggressive comments like how he might as well live in his car since money is more important to me than family. I do not think asking him to contribute is unfair, especially since it has been months and he is clearly taking advantage. But my mom and brother are making me feel like the bad guy. Stories number 21. Aita for hiding my roommate's alarm clock after weeks of being woken up at 5 a.m. I live with my roommate who I generally get along with really well, except for one thing. She has this ridiculously loud alarm clock that goes off at 5 a.m. every single day. And here's the kicker, she doesn't even get out of bed until 6. She just hits snooze, over and over, while I'm in the next room wide awake and angry at the ceiling. At first, I tried being polite. I mentioned it casually like, "Hey, your alarm is pretty loud, could you maybe turn it down a bit?" She laughed and said she's a deep sleeper and needs it that loud. Fine. Then I suggested using her phone's vibration alarm, or at least putting it on her nightstand instead of across the room. She brushed it off. After 2 weeks of me being a zombie at work, I snapped. One morning, after hearing that alarm for what felt like the 50th time, I went into her room while she was in the shower and just hid the alarm clock. I put it in a drawer, didn't throw it out or anything. When she got home, she was furious. She said I disrespected her space, that I had no right to touch her stuff, and that I was sabotaging her morning routine. I told her she was sabotaging my sleep. Now she's barely speaking to me and told our mutual friends that I'm controlling. So, Aita for moving her alarm clock, or was I justified since she wouldn't compromise? Stories number 22. A Marine military police tried to wrongfully give my dad a speeding ticket, but my dad got his revenge. This is a story my dad recently told me about his time in the Marine Corps back in the 80s that I really enjoyed hearing. My dad was driving through base in the middle of the night when suddenly a white truck pulls up and starts tailgating him with their bright lights on. My dad could barely see from getting beamed by all 3 mirrors. His words were for 5 minutes, I couldn't even see his grill. Because of this, he speeds up a few mph to add some space, but the white truck sped up with him and stayed on his bumper. So my dad speeds up another few mph to add more space, and this time the white truck threw their lights on and pulled him over for speeding. It was an MP military police, who was a lance corporal. The lance MP calls for backup, and another MP shows up who is a corporal, which is a higher rank than lance corporal. My dad tells Corporal MP exactly what happens, and the 2 MPs get into a dispute because Lance MP wants to give my dad a ticket for speeding but Corporal MP doesn't want to after hearing my dad's side. Lance is full on arguing with a higher rank because he's adamant on giving my dad this ticket. In the end, Corporal MP says no ticket, and they let my dad leave. Now, my dad is a shooting range coach in the Marine Corps. In the Corps, you have to do a shooting qualification every single year and you must pass, or else you can face disciplinary action. The coaches basically instruct and manage the Marines during live fire as they are doing their qualification. They are mostly watching for safety. If you do anything unsafe with your weapon, the coaches can throw you off the range and you do not qualify. So fast forward a few months after the MP situation. My dad is on the range, coaching and monitoring as usual, when he looks over at the block of shooters next to him. And who does he see is doing their qualification today? Good old Lance MP. So my dad talks to Lance MP's coach and asks to switch places and tells him he will explain later, and the coach agrees. Now my dad is Lance MP's shooting coach. At first Lance MP didn't recognize him, but my dad walks up and says, "Do you remember me?" And the Lance MP puts his head down and says yes. So my dad says, "You have one fucking time, one fucking tiny mistake and your ass is done." So over the next few hours, Lance MP goes through his rounds of shooting and shoots well, making 0 mistakes, an obvious pass. When the shooting is finished, each shooter must unload their weapon while the coaches walk through and inspect to make sure all weapons are clear of rounds. Lance MP had his weapon open and shows it to my dad, but before my dad could get a good look at it and verify it was clear, Lance MP closes the chamber and walks off. He couldn't tell if the chamber was actually empty. My dad says that's the safety violation I needed. Get the fuck off my range. Lance MP starts crying, "No, this is bullshit. This is fucking bullshit." Dad wasn't having it. He was gone. Lance MP, a Marine Corps military police who is basically armed at all times, fails his shooting qualification due to a safety violation. I don't know what happened to Lance MP when his command found out why he unqualified, but based off my own time in the Marine Corps, I'm positive he was fucked. Edit. Lance MP spent over 5 minutes arguing with Corporal MP because he was adamant on giving my dad a speeding ticket. If my dad had gotten that ticket, he would have been in far more trouble than Lance MP for unqualifying. My dad is probably the nicest person I've ever met and by no means a spiteful person, but hopefully he taught Lance MP not to fuck over other Marines. Don't forget Lance MP probably fucked over plenty of Marines with bullshit speeding tickets before pulling my dad over. I should also note that when my dad was telling me the story, when he was speeding up to put space between him and the truck, he said he just barely eased on the gas. He didn't just speed up and immediately go 10 miles per hour over the limit. Edit 2. I got a speeding ticket on base when I was a Lance Corporal, and it halted me from reaching Corporal for over a year. Speeding tickets are no joke in the Marine Corps. Stories number 23. Aita for telling my brother to spend more time with his kids and less time doing things like taking his yoga teacher to Japan. My brother got divorced last year after having an affair with a coworker at his law firm. I'm still friends with his ex, especially since she is the mother of my niece and nephew, my brother's kids, who both mean a lot to me. The affair and divorce were rather rough on everyone, as could be imagined. We all live in the same area. So a few days ago he tells me that he is planning to take his yoga instructor on a trip to Japan. But he is going to tell his kids that he will be on a work trip. He asked me if I'd take his son to summer football practice, and of course I will. I like spending time with his kids, I don't have my own. But it irked me and I told him he's being kind if a bad dad. Maybe he could spend more time with his kids over the summer rather than taking a trip with his latest fling. He said that since I don't have kids I shouldn't be telling him how to parent. I don't want to cause a rift between he and I, but I also think it's okay to push back a bit when I think he is being too selfish. Especially since he is asking me to cover for him. Stories number 24. Aitj for not helping my sister with her wedding because she excluded my husband. Hi Reddit. Buckle up because this one's messy family drama. I 31F have been married to my husband, Ethan 32M, for almost 4 years now. He's honestly one of the kindest, most low-key people I've ever met. He's not a big life of the party type, but he's supportive, funny in a quiet way, and literally never stirs up drama. My sister, Claire 29F, is getting married this fall to her fiancé, Ryan 30M. When she got engaged, she asked me to be her maid of honor. I was thrilled. Claire and I grew up close, and while she can be a bit high maintenance, I figured this was my chance to be there for her the way sisters dream about. The problem starts. About 2 months ago, Claire and I were on the phone going over wedding details. She casually dropped into the conversation that Ethan isn't invited. I laughed at first because I thought she was joking. Nope. Dead serious. When I asked why, she said she just doesn't vibe with him and wanted a drama-free day. For context, Ethan has never once caused drama with Claire, or anyone in my family for that matter. He's polite, he makes small talk, he offers to help at family gatherings. He's just not Claire's type of person, meaning, he doesn't hype her up, gossip with her, or buy into her flair for theatrics. She told me flat out, it's my wedding, and I should get to choose who is there. I told her, that's fine, but if my husband isn't welcome, then I won't be standing up in your wedding or helping with the planning. You can't exclude the most important person in my life and still expect me to devote all my time and energy to yours. Claire immediately freaked out. She said I was punishing her for setting boundaries, that family should come before spouses, and that if I really loved her I'd be there with or without him. Enter the parents. Of course, Claire ran straight to my parents' mom, Linda, 58F, and dad, Mark, 60M, who both called me the next day. Mom said, honey, it's just one day. Ethan doesn't have to be there for you to support your sister. Dad chimed in with, your sisters. Marriage comes and goes, but your bond as sisters is forever. That one stung. Like, wow, thanks for telling me my marriage might not last. For the record, Ethan and I have a really solid relationship. I told them point blank, I wouldn't dream of inviting Claire to something important in my life and excluding Ryan for no reason. Why is my marriage considered disposable just because it's inconvenient for her? They didn't have much of an answer to that, but they still keep pushing me to be the bigger person. Where we're at now, Claire has been blowing up my phone, saying I'm ruining her wedding and making it all about me. She's sent screenshots of Pinterest boards, timelines, and vendor lists asking for my input, then follows up with guilt trips when I don't respond. Meanwhile, Ethan has been a saint. He told me he doesn't want me to feel like I have to choose and that he'd understand if I still wanted to be in the wedding even if he's not invited. But I just can't. Every time I picture standing up there as her maid of honor, I picture my husband sitting at home, excluded for no reason. To me, being married means we're a team. If she can't accept him, then she doesn't fully accept me. So, AITJ. Claire says I'm being petty. My parents say I'm being stubborn. Ethan says he'll support me no matter what. But part of me wonders if I'm letting pride get in the way of my sister's big day. On the other hand, if I cave now, aren't I teaching her that she can disrespect my marriage whenever she wants and I'll still show up smiling with a bridesmaid bouquet? Stories number 25. Middle-aged adults who want a vacation in your city and expect free lodging from you. I live in a popular resort area. Classmates of mine from school we graduated decades ago reach out to me a few times a year, asking for lodging. From one couple who hadn't seen in 29 years, we're planning to spend a few days in the area, but hotels are so expensive. Can we stay with you? From another classmate who stayed with me last year and quit his job and is voluntarily not working, I will be in town for a few days and wanted to see friends. I can't afford a hotel. Can I stay with you? The issue is that they don't take no for an answer. They'll ask over and over when I say no. Finally I just block them. If you're a middle-aged adult and we all graduated from a college that certainly gives us employable skills, and if you want to take a vacation, you should plan one within your budget. If you can't afford to pay for at least one night of lodging, don't take the vacation. Stories number 26. AITA for refusing to share my inheritance with my brother because he blew his half years ago. Hi Reddit, I need some perspective because right now I'm being painted as the selfish, greedy sister and I don't know if I'm losing sight of things. I 29F and my brother, Jake 32M, lost our dad, David, about 5 years ago. Dad wasn't a rich man, but he worked hard, saved wisely, and made sure that when he passed, both of us would have a cushion to build our futures. After everything was sorted, Jake and I each received about $120,000. Now, I'm not going to pretend I'm perfect with money, but I knew this was something I'd never get again, and I wanted to use it responsibly. I paid off my student loans, put a down payment on a modest house, and invested the rest into a retirement account and some safe stocks. It wasn't glamorous, but I sleep at night knowing I'm stable. Jake. Whole different story. What Jake did with his share. Jake has always been impulsive. He immediately went out and bought a brand new car, not just a practical one, but a flashy, expensive sports car. Then he threw several parties, took trips, bought designer clothes, and started pouring money into half-baked business ideas. One of them was some sort of luxury sneaker reselling company that he claimed was going to blow up on Instagram. Another was a crypto scheme that collapsed within months. By the end of the first year, his inheritance was gone. Completely. My mom, Karen 55F, and I both tried to warn him as he was spending like crazy. His response was always some variation of, "Don't worry, I've got it handled. You're just jealous you don't know how to enjoy life." Fast forward 4 years, and guess what? The car's gone repoed, he's drowning in credit card debt, and he's been bouncing between jobs. The ask. A few weeks ago, Jake came to me asking for help. Specifically, he wanted to borrow $20,000. His pitch was, he's turning things around. He said this every year since he was 18. Dad would have wanted us to share everything. I have a house and investments, so I can afford it. He'll pay me back as soon as his next business takes off. I told him no. Point blank. I said, Jake, you got the same inheritance I did. I didn't get more than you. I just didn't waste mine. That was Dad's gift to both of us, and you blew it. I'm not responsible for bailing you out now. He immediately flipped. He called me greedy, cold, and accused me of caring more about money than family. He even said, you only got where you are because of Dad's money, same as me. The only difference is you hoard yours while I actually live life. Enter Mom. Now here's where it gets more complicated. Mom has started pressuring me. She says things like, your brother's struggling, can't you show a little compassion? It's not like you need all that money sitting in investments. Your dad would want you two to take care of each other. For context, Mom and Jake have always been close. She tends to baby him, while I was the responsible one growing up. I feel like she expects me to pick up the slack because she doesn't want to see Jake fail. I love my mom, but I told her, this isn't about compassion. This is about boundaries. Dad already gave Jake the money. He chose what to do with it. Where things stand now, Jake has been sending me texts every couple of days. Sometimes it's guilt trips, hope you enjoy your fancy house while your only brother drowns, sometimes it's anger, you're dead to me if you don't help, and sometimes it's fake niceness. If you lend me the money, I'll cut you in on my next project, big profits guaranteed. I've ignored most of them, but the constant family pressure is wearing me down. Even a couple of my cousins are siding with Jake, saying I should just help him this once. Ethan, my fiancé, 30M, says I'm 100% right to hold my ground, that giving Jake money will just enable him, and that if I cave now, it'll never stop. He's right, but I'm still second-guessing myself because everyone keeps telling me I'm the bad guy. So, Aita, I get that family matters, but I also feel like giving in would erase the fact that Jake and I both got the same opportunity, I just chose differently. Do I owe him compassion in the form of $20,000? Or do I have the right to say, you made your bed, now lie in it? Stories number 27. Entitled Religious Gym Patron Won't Stop Trying to Talk Religion to Me, citing they're entitled to talk about religion to me. To start, I'm not religious in any context of any religion. Since the start of the year a man joined the gym I work for that I began training. He's a very religious person who prays before every workout. He once asked me what are my religious beliefs, and when I said I'm not religious he gasped and began talking to me about so many different religious things from his religion which I said to not to discuss with me. I don't want to discuss. I've asked him multiple times to stop, but he says he's entitled by the power above to talking religion until I go to his house of worship to give it a chance. I've asked my boss to switch him to train with someone else, but my boss is his cousin and she has said the secret is to just ignore him when he talks religion. Today he took his religious beliefs to the next level when he reached into his gym bag and tried splashing me with a bottle of holy water, which I dodged, and instead he got his cousin. She told him to go with her to her office. I hope she had a good long talk with him. Update. As I'm typing this update the next day, my shift began half-hour ago and boss came by my office with her cousin and he apologized all while holding a Bible, hoping I'd forgive him for the holy water incident of yesterday. I told him I'm not working with him anymore and the apology is not accepted. My boss informed me in front of her cousin he is now banned for his behavior. He tried saying, "You can't ban me, we're family." My boss said, "Family or not, nobody is above the rules here, especially with religion." The man stormed out in anger. Stories number 28. Aita for not wanting my husband in the delivery room. I 34F am 34 weeks pregnant and feel so lost. 2 years ago, my husband 35M was unfaithful. It started as an emotional relationship with a colleague but crossed boundaries one night when he lied about staying at a casino hotel alone. I eventually found out through surveillance footage after us had a gut feeling about that night. We did couples counseling, he worked hard to regain my trust, and we've tried to move forward. Fast forward to this past weekend. We traveled to my home state for my baby shower. I encouraged him to go out with my best friend's boyfriend for some drinks to unwind the night before my baby shower. He told me they went to a sports bar and a brewery, but I found suspicious Venmo transactions on a newly activated Venmo card I wasn't aware of. Later, at my baby shower, I found out they had actually gone to a strip club. He lied straight to my face again. He only admitted to part of it after I confronted him. I asked if he had paid for any services and he denied it multiple times, but just yesterday, days later, he added that he did pay for a lap dance, though he swears it was just chatting. I don't even believe him at this point. I'm devastated. I've been struggling with this pregnancy anemia, exhaustion, caring for our 4-year-old mostly on my own. I already feel insecure in my body, and this just crushed me. I came home from what should have been a happy trip feeling broken. He says he's sorry, and he said the same thing after the first betrayal. I don't know if this is who he is, if lying and disrespecting me will just keep happening. I don't want to hug him, tell him I love him, or even have him in the delivery room right now. But we have a family, a new home, and another baby on the way. I'm so torn. I know to some, strip clubs are not an issue in a relationship, but I am so hurt by the lying and disrespect and don't know whether I can or want to move on with him. I am due in 6 weeks and already let him know I do not want him in the delivery room. We live in a state away from both of our families and have no friends or support here, but at the moment, I would rather be in a delivery room by myself than have him there, but I feel afraid to regret it as I'm going through active labor. Stories number 29. What happened when you called the bluff of the person who won't attend your wedding unless you do XYZ? I've read so many posts asking what to do when someone invited to the wedding says they won't show up if you don't invite person X, or if you don't make Z a bridesmaid, or you don't wear my dress, or... You get the idea. My personal advice is usually just call their bluff. But we never get to hear what happened after. I have a feeling I'm going to be dealing with one of two of those types of people in my own wedding, and I fully plan on calling their bluff. I'd like to hear stories of people who have done that. What did the person want you to do? How did you call their bluff? What happened after? Edit to add, I think some folks were convinced I was farming responses for an article, but the truth is I'm just nosy and love a good dose of petty when the occasion calls for it. I really do have my own drama I'm dealing with, it's in the comments. Also, as of now I'm seeing a pretty even split between the person backed down and the person didn't come, which I'm surprised about. I was thinking it was going to lean towards the person backed down. Anyways, keep them coming because these stories are great.